advisor-centric firm built for successful advisors like you. There's a reason why 148 financial advisors joined Stifel last year. Come join us and find out why Stifel is the firm where success meets success. Visit www.choosestifel.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Bastuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The six-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the six-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The war of words between incoming border chief, I mean that in the general sense, not attached to any agency. Of course, we're talking about Tom Homan. And blue city mayors around the country continues. Tucson, Arizona mayor, better tell mom to listen up, Amy.
Uh-oh. Louise.
Tucson, Arizona mayor Regina Romero joins the resistance.
Dear Tucsonans, as your mayor, I want to reassure every single resident that I am committed to do all we can to keep our community safe. I am deeply troubled by President-elect Trump's plans for mass deportation. I believe they are cruel and immoral. I will work with our police chief to make sure that our focus remains on protecting and serving Tucsonans. Here in Tucson, we know how to stand up and fight against hate and racist laws. Part of our history is coming together with our faith leaders and other organizations to protect children and families from separation. I am unwavering in my commitment to this fight. While we do not have specific details about how mass deportations will be carried out by President-elect Trump's administration, we do know that it will be painful to children, families, and our immigrant communities. We do not have the exact details as to when and if Proposition 314 goes into effect. We know that this hate-filled proposition draws from SB 1070, the Show Me Your Papers law. We are a compassionate city that knows that we are stronger together and that values our multiracial heritage. Justice will prevail.
It will. Justice cometh, and that right soon, but not in the way that Regina Romero thinks. I hope there are Tucsonans. That's the word?
Yeah, that's what
for
they
Tucson
call us.
residents?
Mm-hmm. We're Tucsonans.
What about Tucsonites?
Nope. Tucsonans. Always has been, always will be.
Tucsonians?
Just just Tucsonans, Dan. No.
I
But maybe
really
they
like
get the
that.
fraternities and sororities at U of A to help out, like hold the line, Pima County line.
Well,
So they don't
I
cross
hope
over.
I hope people do respond on point to this talking point that you're hearing from these big city mayors about the immorality of it. Yeah, let's have the conversation about the morality of the lawlessness that mayors like Regina Romero platform and the thousands of Americans who have been injured or killed by people who shouldn't be in this country, just for starters, in addition to the opportunity cost of using public resources for people who are here illegally as compared to American citizens, people who have not paid into the system as compared to people who have, people who play by the rules as compared to people who don't. Let's have that conversation about morality. We can't have it enough, actually. Since they invoked it, let's go ahead and have it. And I'd be surprised if there is not significant pushback. And it really doesn't matter the demographics of Tucson or the demographics of Arizona. This idea, Regina Romero has the quote-unquote Latino community behind her. I doubt it.
She does not.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, a ton of Latinos, even when I lived there, even more so now with Trump and with these people just walking in and getting whatever they want, houses, sometimes cars, food, 3 meals a day, daycare if you're a mom. But they're sick because they went through, a lot of Tucsonans that are Mexicans went through the proper channels and had to wait and had to spend tens of thousands of dollars, Dan, on immigration law attorneys, and they are pissed.
Well, the point here is that you have to relentlessly make the case, just as they do. They are tethered to that talking point that you heard throughout the campaign, that you've heard throughout the last decade, at least, certainly heightened during the Trump era. And that requires that people respond in kind, people who are sensible, people who do play by the rules, people who do believe in the rule of law, that they respond in kind. You cannot let Regina Romero or Mike Johnston go unanswered. And I'm talking, it's the same thing in Chicago, even though we're at a much greater disadvantage than perhaps some of these other big city mayors. There is attrition that's happening. There's attrition. One Democrat city councilman in New York, a guy named Ralph Holden, Democrat, for emphasis. He was on Fox and Friends. Robert Holden, I'm sorry. He was on Fox and Friends yesterday, calling for the repeal of sanctuary city status in New York City. He's trying to push Eric Adams to move a little bit faster in the direction Eric Adams may be moving.
Yeah, but he can also petition the governor He could possibly do some call on the city council. Let's negotiate this. Let's try to amend some of the sanctuary city laws. There's 4 of them over the years that the council has passed to have less cooperation with the feds. We need to cooperate with ICE, especially on the illegal aliens that are committing crime. And that's what I'm really focusing on. And also the possible terrorists that are in New York City. Well, again, I'm looking to President Trump, because I think President Trump could say, you know what, if you're going to violate the laws, the federal laws, the statutes that we have on the books, it's a felony to shield and harbor illegal aliens who have committed crimes. And you can't do that. You can't shield them from ICE. So the president actually could say to the governor and to the mayor, cooperate with us, or we're going to charge you with felonies.
Well, President Trump may not be saying that explicitly, but he doesn't need to, because Tom Homan is. Tom Homan was on with Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Hannity last night. And he responded to Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, saying he'd be willing to go to prison, and all these other mayors that are essentially threatening, taunting the same thing. Mike Johnston, you'll recall, had this to say the other day.
I would certainly protest it, and I would expect other residents would do the same.
Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is willing to arrest leaders like yourself for standing in the way of these policies that they want to enact. Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. And I'm also not seeking that. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate.
Well, you're seeking it when you say that you're not going to comply with federal law, and Tom Homan reminded the Denver mayor that that is indeed his position.
If you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. Because there's a statute, it's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III, and what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If he don't want to fix it, if he don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
And the thing is, too, that we didn't mention yesterday, his plan was to use Denver police officers and 50,000 residents who would volunteer to hold the county line to stop them from coming in. It's ridiculous.
We'll see if there is the impasse that has been projected. We'll see if that comes to pass. We'll see if this is anything more than posturing from big blue city mayors, which I think it probably largely is. They'll stand down. I don't think they're really looking for this moment. I really don't. I think this is easy identitarian pandering. And I think at the end of the day, when Tom Homan brings whatever overwhelming force he feels he needs to bring to ensure that federal law enforcement is protected and federal law enforcement has the necessary personnel to do a particular job, then I don't think you're going to see Mayor Johnston or Mayor Romero or Mayor BLM Brandon standing and essentially trying to Orville Faubus the deal with standing at the schoolhouse door saying thou shalt not pass. I don't believe it. I don't believe them. I think they're paper tigers, these big blue city mayors. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And you can also text us on that line as well. And the salient point that Homan makes, he's always very good on the communication piece of this, which is why I'm glad he's been ubiquitous since his nomination for this post. What big city mayor, what mayor anywhere, wants to protect people who are a public safety threat? So you heard the Tucson mayor, on behalf of Tucsonans, say that we don't know what the details are, but mass deportation just on principle is something that we categorically reject. Oh, really? Well, with the priorities are, as Tom Homan has been outlining in all these media appearances, people in this country illegally who've committed a violent crime, people are connected to international crime syndicates. If that's the rank of finding the 85,000 missing children, I mean, if those are the immediate priorities, what is it exactly you object to? I thought you didn't want families separated, but you don't want 85,000 kids that DHS lost found? I thought you didn't want families separated, but you want serial predators on the streets of America, or worse, terrorists?
Yeah.
We know from FBI and from DHS, I mean, they're offering information that runs counter to their interests, so it's the one time you can believe it's credible. We know that they know of suspected terrorists, people on the terrorist watch list that have been released in this country, and they don't know where they are. So what? I'm sorry, you don't want Tom Homan to round them up? I'm confused.
And it's been magnified again by this 2-year-old girl who came from El Salvador and by herself with a note. And that's it. And they said, where are your parents? And she said, in the United States. And I mean, and she's one of the 60 that were there that day. So Homan and Greg Abbott, governor of Abbott, are going down to Eagle Pass today to see the situation down there.
And meanwhile, back in border cities like, New York, every day there are reports like this, and occasionally you'll even have the network affiliates do it when there's enough pressure put on by law enforcement to raise the profile on these issues. Here's the latest and greatest on the presence of Tren de Aragua in New York City, as documented by the chief of detectives for the NYPD.
We have no fingerprints on file for them. We have no photographs on file for them. We have no prior criminal history on them. They swap out their IDs. We have no way of tracking or knowing who they are when they enter the country.
The NYPD's chief of detectives says undocumented criminals as young as 11 years old are carrying out retail robberies and committing crimes on scooters, snatching people's jewelry, watches, and cell phones at gunpoint and knife point. Over 300 incidents last year, more than 800 so far this year. They've brazenly shot at police officers, too.
When we do make arrests and we're able to charge them on 4, 5, 6 incidents, when they go before a judge in New York City and their arrest record is run, they show no prior criminal history. They're released on their own recognizance, they're not offered bail, and they're released back into the public.
Some migrant mothers we spoke to say they fear their boys will be forced into the world of crime.
People have warned us to be careful with the child because they are recruiting younger children. It worries me a lot.
Arada Piera and her 11-year-old son Dylan live in a Manhattan migrant shelter.
Great, and the migrant shelters now are recruiting turf for the international gangs. That makes sense. Smart.
And we have another one. A pastor in Rochester Hills, Michigan, has died after he was hit by a woman driving a car who's here illegally and did not have a driver's license.
And the other reason that I think you're not going to see a real stand and deliver moment from these big talking, big blue city mayors.
Why?
Is, you think, oh, I'm going to send a beacon out and you're safe in Chicago or Tucson or Denver. Well, I mean, if you send the beacon out and Eric Adams and others start to send the people in this country legally in their cities to New York or Denver or Tucson, and those crossing the border, well, that's going to come to an end, by the way. So this is really, at least in the foreseeable future, just about people who are already here illegally and how they ambulate around the country. But you start to send a message, and people start to send their people there. You think Tom Homan's not going to pick up on that? You think Tom Homan's afraid to go to Denver if that becomes a magnet, or Tucson if that becomes a magnet, or Chicago if that becomes more of a magnet? I don't think he is. Coming up at 5:38. Speaking of Denver, which is speaking of Colorado, they've got their own little Jussie Smollett race crime, hate crime hoax in a mayoral race. Colorado Springs, the first black mayor of Colorado Springs, embroiled in a controversy that has already produced a number of arrests at the federal level. Thank God this isn't Kim Foxx being brought in as a special prosecutor. The case of the Colorado Springs mayor, 538.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Say good morning to Mike Scott.
5:34. Thanksgiving travelers in the Northeast and Great Lakes could see rain and snow And AAA estimates around 80 million of us will be traveling this holiday. Felony charges against President-elect Trump in connection with alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election have been dismissed. A judge granting special counsel Jack Smith's motion to dismiss the charges. Smith is also awaiting on another judge's ruling on his motion to dismiss charges. That is related to the alleged illegal storing of classified documents at President-elect Trump's Florida home. President-elect Trump's new border czar will be in Texas today. Tom Homan meeting with the governor and other officials there. A couple is charged in a suspected big money shoplifting ring targeting an upscale athletic chain.
Jadion Richards and Aqualee Laws Richards of Connecticut are facing charges in Minnesota. They're accused in a suspected shoplifting ring, stealing more than $1 million worth of clothing from Lululemon. Police in Bloomington say they searched the couple's suitcases and found $50,000 worth of merchandise. Democratic State Senator Ron Ladd says the pair are being charged under a new state law aimed at cracking down on large retail theft.
When the prosecutors have this broader tool, now they can take a look at all the people involved.
The couple is also suspected of targeting Lululemon stores in Colorado, Utah, New York, and Connecticut. Tom Graham, Fox News.
Walmart pulling some LGBTQ-related merchandise and shutting down a nonprofit that funds programs for some minorities. The nation's largest retailer rolling back several diversity initiatives. A member of the San Jose State University women's volleyball team who's alleged to be transgender will be allowed to play in the upcoming Mountain West Conference tournament in Las Vegas. The ruling comes after 9 student athletes filed a suit challenging the conference's rules that allow transgender athletes to play. Several women's teams forfeited matches against San Jose State this season. A person was shot and killed Monday evening on I-80 near the I-355 merge in New Lenox. A child struck and killed by a vehicle Monday evening near Algonquin Road and Thoreau Drive in Schaumburg. The driver is cooperating with that investigation. Parents in Darien voiced concerns after a special meeting Monday night, days after learning a student brought a loaded gun to Hinsdale South High School. Many are demanding metal detectors.
We're in an age that we have to take all measures possible to keep the kids safe. And I'd say using a metal detector would be the first step.
Student has been charged with 2 felony weapons counts, including aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, and is next in court next Monday. The Bears could be a step closer to securing a location for their new stadium. Team reached an agreement on property tax rates with the Arlington Heights School District yesterday. Bulls look to get back in the win column when they visit Washington tonight. Blackhawks take on the Stars tomorrow. College hoops Fighting Illini cruised to a win over Arkansas Little Rock at Assembly Hall yesterday. The 5-1 Illini go up against big brother number 21 University of Arkansas on Thanksgiving. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees nothing but winning.
You know, the guy that doesn't like Hispanics just appointed the first Latino Secretary of State in American history, Marco Rubio. Also, Trump, the misogynist, appointed the first ever female chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Boy, that's some real unconventional decisions from a racist misogynist, huh? A lot of winning.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor, or just click on the Give Life banner.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Don't wait until the end of the year to move your assets around. Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you back on the golf course. You must be feeling better, huh?
Yeah, I finally got my blood pressure under control without all the medication side effects.
Wow. New doctor?
No, a superfood juice, believe it or not.
A juice?
Yeah, it's called 120 Life. It's got ingredients like pomegranates, tart cherries, 6 natural ingredients that have shown to control blood pressure.
Huh.
Yeah, it tastes great and has worked wonders.
Awesome. Are you getting a golf cart?
Nope, I'm walking the course today.
Wow. You got any of that 120 Life on you?
Try 120 Life risk-free and get a 2-week trial pack. Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout to save 15% and get free shipping.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RADIO for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code RADIO.
541, let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Tri-State, you've got an accident on both shoulders. Multiple vehicles involved. It's northbound on 294 between the Cermak Toll and the I-88 Reagan Memorial Tollway merge. 8094 has an accident on the right shoulder westbound at Kennedy. 8094 has reopened the eastbound off-ramp to southbound I-65 in northwest Indiana after an earlier accident and fuel spill. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and colder today. A little sunshine will give way to clouds and a high near 40. Mostly cloudy and 34 overnight. Currently 29 degrees. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's not confined to Chicago.
Oh, boy.
Another hate crime hoax uncovered. Another race hustle by identitarian fraudsters. Colorado Springs, Colorado. And the newly minted mayor there, Yemi Mobolade, the first black mayor of Colorado Springs. Oh, he made history.
Congratulations. Yay, you did something. That's where the Air Force is located.
And how did he make history?
How did he make history, Dan?
Well, here's the ABC affiliate out Colorado Springs way reporting on developments related to his election last year. The U.S. Attorney's Office there recently released the indictment of 3 people tied to the burning of a cross in front of Yemi Mobolade's yard sign that had a racial slur written on it. And, of course, this went wild when it was discovered, in quotation marks, last year before the election. But now some other things have been discovered.
A federal indictment outlines communications between then mayoral candidate Yemi Mobolade and one of the men accused of concocting a hate crime hoax prior to the 2023 runoff election.
The court documents run through 5 separate contacts between suspect Derek Bernard and Mobolade, beginning with a Facebook message from Bernard to Mobolade 10 days before a cross was set on fire in front of a Mobolade campaign sign that had the N-word spray painted on it. According to court documents, that initial message from Bernard read, quote, "I'm mobilizing my squadron in defense and for the final push. Black Ops style, big brother, the Klan cannot be allowed to run this city again."
Bernard then texted Mobolade on April 23rd in response to a message about needing support to get to the finish line. A 5-minute phone call was also shared prior to the election. A final text from Bernard to Mobolade was also documented the day of the May 16th election. Now tonight, Mayor Mobolade responded in a statement writing, "That incident during my campaign led to a very traumatic time for my family, my campaign team, and our community. My knowledge and interaction with Bernard was as a local media personality."
He goes on to say, "I was not aware at the time that he was suspected of this crime. I appreciate local and federal law enforcement's work in pursuing justice and sending a message that we will not tolerate such reprehensible behavior." Derek Bernard and 2 others are now facing federal charges of conspiracy to commit offense or defraud the United States.
They're also charged with using instrumentalities of interstate commerce to maliciously convey false information to intimidate by means of fire.
So Yemi Mobolade is pretending like he had no part in this.
Just like Jussie Smollett is still maintaining his innocence. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on this very same line.
And I say pretending because the FBI did refer Mobolade for prosecution for lying to them about his communications with the suspect that was named, Derek Bernard, because he said he didn't communicate with him, and the FBI already had text messages of them communicating.
Right.
The initial, according to one FBI official, the initial response from DOJ, "We can't indict the first black mayor of Colorado Springs."
What?
Luke Rozek over at Daily Wire reporting, the FBI interviewed Mobolade twice to determine his knowledge of the hoax. Mobolade explicitly and strenuously denied contact with Bernard. The official said there were dozens of messages between Bernard and the now mayor. The official also said Mobolade was scrolling through his phone as a memory aid during the interview, but that he was literally skipping over text messages, not realizing that the Bureau had already obtained them elsewhere. Right. Also this, one of the defendants in this case, Derek Bernard,
Yeah.
in the interim has been convicted of a 2019 murder in El Paso County, Colorado. So he's convicted of the murder, but he's a local media personality.
How is he even walking around if he's a convicted murderer?
Well, he's convicted. He is not walking around anymore, and now he faces charges along with 2 others for this conspiracy to defraud. But Mobolade doesn't because, well, according to the reporting on this and an unnamed FBI official, DOJ, that would be Merrick Garland, we cannot indict the first black mayor of Colorado Springs. But don't tell me there's 2 systems of justice based on your politics. And this is all identitarian politics all the time. So Pam Bondi, let's raise the profile on this because Pam Bondi has a case to review and a mayor of Colorado Springs to look at if the U.S. Attorney's Office maintains its posture that you can't indict Mobilotti because he's black.
Oh, yeah, Pam Bondi, she should put Mobilotti in jail for lying to investigators and defrauding the public. And this is also, I don't know, election interference. I don't know, having somebody that you know stage a hate crime, setting a cross in your front lawn or in your campaign office in front on fire and putting the N-word on your campaign sign.
In front of a yard sign.
What year is this? This is 2024. They're like making up hate crimes.
Of course, and anybody who's surprised by this is not paying any attention.
It's Colorado Springs. The KKK were they prevalent in Colorado Springs?
You think that's the issue?
No, I don't think that's. I think there's a lot of issues. This is just.
It's a simple issue, actually.
It is.
Will Riley, our friend from Kentucky State, wrote a book about it called Hate Crime Hoax. We've talked to him about it multiple times. Because racism is in short supply, it has to be manufactured for the purposes of the race hustlers. So that's what's happening. What's the formula? What's the formula here? They know it. Jussie Smollett knows it. Play the victim, prey on white guilt. That's it. It's very simple. Very simple formula. Play the victim and prey on white guilt. And that's how you win a mayor's race in Colorado Springs. And that's how, at least so he thought, Jussie Smollett would raise his profile in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Play the victim, prey on white guilt.
He wanted a bigger contract with Empire.
Joe in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows if there's an impeachment process or anything or a recall process out there. But just think what he did, though, for the general public, for those who are victims of crime, just like these women that cry rape that aren't raped. It demeans them so much. It's pathetic.
Thanks for the call, Joe.
And manufacturing racism should be a federal crime. Let's recharge Jussie Smollett. So this guy.
The three individuals are being charged with federal crimes.
I understand,
so
but he should be too.
Well, right, but
they're ignoring him because he's black.
But if he was charged with lying to the FBI, for example, that's a federal crime.
Yeah.
If he was charged with participating in this conspiracy per these text exchange he had with Bernard, then that would be federal crimes. So the issue is not state versus federal. The issue is special treatment under the law because of the person's skin color. In a related story, the newly crowned Miss Universe from Denmark, my homeland. Newly crowned Miss Universe is facing a backlash because she was in New York City and she posted on Instagram a picture of her in New York City having fun. And the music bed was Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind. Sorry if she doesn't have better taste in music, but that's not the issue.
She's in New York. Yeah.
The Empire State of Mind song, she lip-synced, and the 20-second TikTok clip she lip-synced included the lyric from Empire State of Mind that includes the N-word. And so she lip-synced the N-word, lip-syncing Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind, which is the actual lyric, and now you have people calling for her crown to be taken. Because why?
Oh my God.
Because why? Because play the victim, prey on white guilt, get what you want. Play the victim, prey on white guilt, get what you want. The race hustle. 1 + 1 = 2. Well, I hope that starts to change in the wake of these embarrassing hate crime hoaxes and in the wake of the November 5th election results where people said, we've had enough. This is part of it, too. And so it's the same thing as the trans stuff being shoved down your throat and shoved in front of your face when your daughter's trying to enjoy playing volleyball or some sport in high school and so forth. Same thing. Stop telling me that I'm racist because you disagree with me. Stop saying America's indelibly racist. We're tired. People are tired of listening to Nicole Hannah-Jones. They're tired of listening to how bad America is and how everybody who's black is a victim, and not everybody who's black who says that, but the race hustlers who say this, that all minorities are oppressed groups, that every single minority is a victim of the white patriarchy, that you deserve reparations and I deserve reparations. It's not going away, and it will continue to be a fight. But you see it with some of the attrition in DEI, and you certainly see it with some of the attrition of minority support for Democrats. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. The purpose of statesmanship and governance is to pacify and keep as much peace in the world as possible. With this in mind, the Biden administration's efforts last week encouraging more wartime action from Ukraine are downright insane. When an administration becomes lame duck, the rational position is to ease transition into the new administration, which would include its foreign policy, worldview, and actions. It's clear to everyone that the incoming Trump administration has no interest in prolonging the war between Ukraine and Russia, but rather creating a ceasefire based somewhere along the lines of where the parties are now. Agree or disagree, this is where everything was headed. It is thus the height of irresponsibility for the Biden administration to make the incoming administration's job more difficult and the war between Russia and Ukraine more deadly. Lame duck administrations have responsibilities. Let me state what's obvious for all who are watching closely. Increasing the war and increasing Putin's chances of using nuclear weapons is the height of insanity and irresponsibility. I'm Seth Leibson.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
I love to travel. I've been to Easter Island, the Galapagos, Morocco, India, and the first item that I pack is my balance of nature.
Whether you're taking a vacation, visiting loved ones, or discovering new destinations, traveling is exciting. But let's face it, sometimes it's easy to prioritize everything else over your well-being when you're on the go. Balance of Nature offers a simple solution. Formulated from 31 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients, our fruits and veggie supplements are encapsulated and easily fit into your busy travel itinerary. Between bustling airports and scenic roads, Balance of Nature is the perfect addition to your wanderlust lifestyle. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This holiday at T-Mobile, I'm joined by a special co-anchor.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Snoop D-O-double-G.
Snoop, let's talk about T-Mobile.
Okay, cool.
This holiday, get 4 lines for $25 a line. Plus, 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence and the all-new camera control on us.
Let's get cracking, like a breakfast egg.
You can use those eggs to make some eggnog, Snoop.
Respect.
And people do love T-Mobile, where you can save on every plan versus the other big guys.
You know, y'all could take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise.
Always a great stocking stuffer, Snoop.
We up out of here.
Hold your horses, Snoop D-O-double-G. Let's remind people one more time.
Head to T-Mobile.com and get 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence on us. Plus 4 lines for $25. Now drop that jangle.
With 24 monthly bill credits, 4 eligible trade-ins, and 4 new lines with AutoPay. Well-qualified customers plus taxes and fees and $35 per line connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits and credit stop and balance on required finance agreements due. $829.99. Credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save on wireless and streaming versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence available now.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Tucker Carlson on the end of cable news and why. Cable news, at least in its current format, and why at 6:06.
And later, keep an eye on the slime. We'll explain, but now let's head into that newsroom. Here is, once again, Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Dan and Amy, a fatal shooting has shut down I-80 in New Lenox in the early evening yesterday, and that investigation continues. A child fatally struck by a vehicle in Schaumburg. Former Alderman Danny Solis testifies in the Michael Madigan corruption trial. Chicago Bears have reached a tentative deal on property taxes on their property in Arlington Heights. Bulls are visiting the Wizards, while the Fighting Illini blow out Little Rock ahead of taking on their big brother, the University of Arkansas. WIND Chicago News Time, 6.
He's threatening to impose tariffs. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President-elect Trump, in a Truth Social post, wrote that by executive order, he'll impose 25% tariffs on all products from Canada and Mexico coming into the U.S. For not doing enough at their borders to stop illegal immigration and drugs, he's also threatening 10% tariffs on China.
A spokesman at the Chinese embassy in Washington says China believes that the China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation is mutually beneficial in nature. No one will win a trade war or a tariff war. It's unclear, though, if Trump intends to use the threats as a negotiating tool. Canada's deputy prime minister says Canada places the highest priority on border security and the integrity of our shared border. We will, of course, continue to discuss these issues with the incoming administration.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. Trump critics have warned since tariffs are actually paid by importing companies here in the U.S., the cost could be passed on to us, causing more inflation. Because Trump won the election and presidents can't be prosecuted, his two federal indictments are going away.
Special counsel Jack Smith asked for the dismissal in both his cases against President-elect Trump, though we're still waiting for the appeals court to officially dismiss the documents case. Smith was supposed to bring the election interference case to trial back in March after Trump was charged with trying to overturn the 2020 election results.
Fox's David Spahn. Israel's cabinet meets today considering stopping the fight against Hezbollah in Lebanon.
As senior politicians discuss an initial 60-day ceasefire in the war with Hezbollah, Israel's military continues its assault. Lebanese authorities say at least 31 people were killed in airstrikes on Monday, while 10 or more rockets were reportedly fired at northern Israel last night.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. It is a big getaway day with busy airports this morning ahead of Thanksgiving. This man's going through Atlanta and advises everyone.
Be prepared for anything that could and may go wrong. So come here as early as possible.
So far, only 25 flights canceled across the U.S. America's listening to Fox News.
27 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer, and good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. A person shot and killed Monday night along I-80, close to the I-355 tollway entrance in New Lenox. Westbound I-80 traffic was disrupted during the investigation. New Lenox police assist in taking that suspect into custody. A child was struck and killed by a vehicle Monday evening near Algonquin Road and Thoreau Drive. The driver involved is cooperating. Parents in Darien voicing concerns at a special meeting Monday night after learning a student brought a loaded gun into Hinsdale South High School. Many are now demanding metal detectors.
We're in an age that we have to take all measures possible to keep the kids safe. And I'd say using a metal detector would be the first step.
The district said it learned of the weapon and then notified police quickly. Superintendent Dr. Michael Lack.
The student was later escorted to the dean's office, at which point administration and security became aware that the student had a gun and immediately called 911. In 47 seconds, armed security was on the scene and had possession of the gun.
A judge has ordered that the student remain in custody until his next court appearance next Monday. The Bears could be a step closer to securing a location for their new stadium. The team reached an agreement on property taxes with the Arlington Heights School District yesterday.
I would be happy if the Bears came. I think that it's good for economic growth in our area. I think the land and the area where the Bears want to put their stadium, it's a great opportunity for the Bears.
However, even with the agreement in place, the Bears released a statement saying they'll continue to also focus on a potential lakefront site. Bulls take on the Wizards tonight. Blackhawks battle the Stars tomorrow. College hoops last night, finding Illini crush Arkansas Little Rock at Assembly Hall. 92-34, they take on the University of Arkansas on Thanksgiving. Monday night football, the Battle of the Harbaughs. Baltimore beat the Chargers 30-23. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains what we're seeing from the left.
American-made missiles are now being shot into the interior of Russia. The American left would rather see the world burn and blow up the world than give up power. They are handing Donald Trump potentially nuclear war.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brent Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home in Florida. Now, while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brent's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. Brett became a T4 paraplegic. Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows severely injured heroes like Brett to live more independently. We hope you'll donate $11 a month so this great work can continue. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other, and if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee as a new preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
6:07 and a check on your roads this morning. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of our friends at Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality, professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella-certified contractor, Valdecast.com. The Kennedy already at a half hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. I-57, they've cleared an accident northbound approaching Manhattan-Moni Road. Tri-State northbounders, you're all jammed up. Ogden all the way to I-88, the Reagan Memorial Tollway, due to an accident. The left lane blocked. Multiple vehicles are involved, and wreckers are on the scene, but it's going to take a while to untangle that mess. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. The latest from AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Breezy and a bit colder, sun and clouds, high today 40, cloudy tonight, low 34, and then clouds again tomorrow, the high 41. Snow shower late tomorrow night, low 32. Couple of snow showers on Thanksgiving Day, the high at 37. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
A chilly 27 officially at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The changing media landscape. They were really full of themselves, the D.C. press corps, when Trump won in 2016. The surprise victory, the how thick is our bubble, a self-examination that went on for about 5 minutes before they declared that all the rules of journalism were formally, publicly suspended in an effort to get Trump because he was an illegitimate president. Essentially what they said. Dave Remnick, the New Yorker, said it. One of the leading lights. Now they're not feeling so in charge. Do you feel like you're in charge? As Bane said in Batman. I'm in charge. Do you feel like you're in charge?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I remember you wore that Bane mask during COVID.
I did.
It was good.
Yeah. I did. Yeah,
it was effective. I mean, it stopped the spread, Dan. So thank you for doing your part. I really appreciate you.
It also made sure people socially distanced from me. Axios CEO Jim Vanderhei.
Oh, poor guy.
CEO of Axios. A lot of veteran political reporters at Axios. He was honored, Boy, we got another. The days for honoring yourself will soon be at an end. So I got a Batman and I got a Gladiator reference there. Okay, Jim Vanderhei to Elon Musk and citizen journalists out there. We are the media. You ain't.
Is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day or X today, saying we are the media, you are the media. My message to Elon Musk is bullshit. You're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness doesn't make you a reporter. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. You are not the media. Elon Musk is not the media. Your blue check mark does not impress Jim Vanderhei at Axios. They are the media. They do the hard work. Joe Scarborough.
Oh, God.
They still have a show for now.
For now. It could go any day. That's what Mika said.
Hopefully that's foreshadowing. Joe Scarborough and the gaggle over at Morning Joe reacting.
It needed to be said.
Yeah.
It continues to need to be said. When all of the garbage that's flying around on social media, lying about reporters, lying about the hard work they do, lying about the hard work editors do, lying about everything up and down, about not only their alternative set of facts, but alternative set of facts about what people like you do. Or if social media, people lying every day, every hour, every minute about the news. What you do matters. What the New York Times does matters. What the Wall Street Journal does matters. What Jonathan Lemire does matters. What the Financial Times does matters. What NBC News and MSNBC reporters do matters. It matters.
Does it matter?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that very same line. I don't know. I mean, they had people that watch MSNBC, they lied to them for the last, 3 months, saying Kamala Harris, oh no, it's neck and neck in these polls. So these people, who some people are working 2 to 3 jobs, made small donations, which is a big deal for them. $25 here, $10 here to keep it going. And it was all a lie. And they knew, deep down, I think that they knew that she was going to get rolled over by Trump, but they kept up this lie and appearances like everything's going to be fine and we're going to win this race. So they're a fraud, and they've always been a fraud, but now they're exposed on a different level, more so than I've ever seen in my life. I love it.
Remember this flashback? Well, this is a flashback to remember this speech, better said. Newly minted NPR CEO upon taking the helm at NPR, state-run media and funded.
Doge is going to put an end to that, I hope.
We'll see. Catherine Maher, she came from Wikipedia. They don't have viewpoints there at Wikipedia, do they?
Oh my God.
NPR CEO Catherine Maher, how did she become NPR CEO? She had this to say about the truth when it comes to reporting. One of the seminal declarations of the last several years of the Trump era. One of the seminal declarations. There have been many that are really illustrative of the DC press corps. This is certainly a top 5 for me.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
Seeking the truth is a distraction from getting things done. Let that wash over you for a second. What those important things are, she'll let you know. Seeking the truth. It's difficult, so it's by definition fruitless when we have important things to get done. Like what you say. Oh, gosh, I don't know. Getting this person elected, getting this policy passed, getting this policy stopped. Yeah. Tucker Carlson was on this podcast recently talking about old media. People like Jim Vanderhei at Axios, Catherine Maher at, Wiki and now NPR. I wouldn't necessarily call Wiki old media, but that old media mentality, as you heard her just offer up. Why is MSNBC hemorrhaging audience? Why are local newspapers disappearing and major dailies hemorrhaging subscribers? Why is there panic afoot such that Rachel Maddow takes a pay cut and Mika and Joe foreshadow their own
demise.
Oblivion?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I would just start by saying there's nothing more corrupt than what we have. So I'm glad that it's going away. There's nothing shallower than cable news. Life in it. So for them to say, the public is reaching conclusions we disagree with because they're not watching long and they're getting all their news from TikTok or something. I just want to restate, there's nothing shallower, dumber, more repetitive, more controlled, less informative than cable news. I think I can say that with authority, so can you. So if they're claiming that the other guys are just not up to their level of journalism or rectitude, that, it's just dogs barking. It means nothing to me. Obviously, we're entering a much freer, more open period. Elon Musk deserves 100% of the credit for that because he has this platform at scale, the only one at scale that's open. Joe Rogan deserves the credit for creating an entire new genre, podcasting, from which I'm benefiting. So I'm grateful to Joe Rogan, and I mean that. Plus, I love Joe Rogan anyway. But he did that single-handedly. So, and I guess we're both beneficiaries of it. He created this thing like it didn't exist before. It's an amazing thing. And, if the world were fair, then, everyone in the media would be tipping a hat to him. Like, did you invent the newspaper? Did you invent radio? Did you invent television? I don't think so. Joe Rogan essentially invented podcasting. I mean, he made it clear to everybody else that this could both have an effect and be a real business. Who thought that would be true? He proved it. Here are my concerns. I don't have too many concerns. Here's something that annoys me. If there's a lesson of what happened to television and newspapers, print, and legacy media, they died because they were corrupt. I mean, the business models changed, et cetera, et cetera. There are ways they won't evolve. Like the people who work at NBC News will not have careers in journalism 10 years from now. And the reason they won't is not because of technology. It's because they have no credibility because they're corrupt. They're liars. So that's really the lesson. Corruption kills you, especially in a business predicated on trust, which is the media.
That's the key line right there at the end. It's a perfect summation. Corruption kills you, but particularly in a business predicated on trust.
They brought it upon themselves. It just took a while to get here, to have a day of reckoning.
Young Americans ditching traditional TV in droves. 50% of 18 to 25-year-olds watch none, turning to streaming and digital platforms instead.
My boys never watch TV, ever. They watch their phones, they read Twitter for their news.
I mentioned this yesterday, but in our conversation, this picks up at the end of the show we had, the conversation we had at the end of the show yesterday with Martin Gurry. 2024 State of Local News Report from PR Daily. A third of all U.S. newspapers shut down in 2024. Or 2023-24, over the last year. 33% of all U.S. newspapers, 127 closures in the past year. Of the remaining 5,600 newspapers, 80% are now weeklies, leaving just over 1,100 daily papers for a nation of 335 million people. But I mean, how many daily papers do you need? I don't know. Do you need more? Do you need fewer? I don't know. I mean, because daily papers is just one form of medium. And as we talked about last week, there are different kinds of mediums, aren't there? There are the one-to-many mediums, like legacy TV, and there are the many-to-many mediums, like social media, or even radio, like talk radio, interactive radio, like us. Subscription numbers for the top 500 papers fell by 2 million last year.
Oh, my gosh.
Washington Post losing 250,000 subscribers alone.
And some were on the left, though, too, because they were mad that certain papers didn't endorse Kamala Harris.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like the Washington Post and the LA Times. Yep. Newsroom staff has dropped by 2,000 jobs in the past year, leaving fewer than 100,000 workers in the entire newspaper industry. About 30% of content is now recycled or syndicated with fewer truly local stories, right? Well, there's that piece again, content. Just like Tucker's talking about trust. These are, well, content is very tangible. Trust is somewhat tangible and somewhat intangible. But the fundamentals, the content piece, Jim Vanderhyde tried to paper over the fundamentals by talking about, we do the work. And Morning Joe, they do the work, the editors and the reporters. Yeah, that's fine that you have technical skills and that you commit an 8-hour day to producing your content. I won't necessarily call it news. I'm just calling it your content. And some people produce less or more content with fewer or more hours committed to it on social media. But the technical expertise or the technical work effort only gets you so far if nobody believes what you're saying.
Right.
If you've exposed yourself as untrustworthy. If you say you're one thing and your behavior indicates you're something else. And this is what the legacy media can't get their arms around. The content. This is what the news outlets can't get their arms around. And so they just scream at the readers or the content consumers, just like the Democrats scream at their voters, trying to shame you to stay in the fold. And they're losing their grip, aren't they? And what, by the way, what Tucker Carlson said about cable news being dumb, repetitive, dumb, repetitive. on the quarter hour, dumb and repetitive on the quarter hour. It's about right. Unwatchable, including most of Fox, most of the time. That's why I said we were talking last week when we were talking about this from a different angle. There's going to be a competitor in that space at some point. Yeah. It's not there yet. There's got to be sort of an innovation. Just like with the network affiliate news, nobody ever innovated. They all do the same things because, of course, they're all, I mean, even the O&Os are all affiliated with the national networks. And so there's this groupthink. You have to do stale, news that doesn't mean anything to anybody other than those who are in the news story, crack ups on the local expressways and residential kitchen fires. And then you have to do cross promotion for network programming from the mothership. And then you have to report the weather that people have on their phone and stale sports scores that people all know as soon as they look at their phone. And then you get some witty banter between dingbats who read teleprompters and they call that a newscast.
Yep.
Everybody does the same thing. Nobody's tried to break out. I mean, back in the day, there's some investigative reporting and occasionally they happen onto something. But I mean, there's no value add for the viewer. And everything that you're telling me at 6 and 10, I knew 6 and 10 hours ago. But nobody wanted to do anything different. And here's innovation coming along in social media space, and particularly X under Musk, because he believes in free speech in a way the other platforms don't. It's not terribly complicated. Anthony, Northside. Hey, Anthony.
How are you? I just wanted to tell you my opinion on the difference between regular media and social media news. A lot of these leftists, if you're on social media, a lot of them are, reading off of scripts pretty much, spoon-fed from what they get from the leftist media, is they got Venmo accounts. They're getting paid. If you notice that people on the right, I mean, they're just speaking truth, and they're not asking for money. Nobody wants to hear the truth. It's like, what's going on with this country? Why are they so stuck on, what they want to hear instead of what needs to be heard? You know what I mean? People are afraid of reality.
Yeah.
But I love you guys, love your show, and I hope you guys keep, your stuff going. You know what I mean? So
thanks for the call, Anthony. We have not predicted our oblivion yet, like Morning Joe has. George in Naperville.
Dan and Amy is enough media for me. You're the best.
Thank you, George. John in Portage Park.
Yeah, hi. I don't think I get my news from Daily Wire, you guys and other people that I agree with, of course. But I do watch one, either ABC News, Network News, or PBS NewsHour, at least one. And I know it's 75% BS, but do you think I should stop that because it helps them?
No. I think it's. I mean, it's the old Aristotelian admonition to know thine enemy. Yeah. No, I think you should consume. I mean, I think you should consume content across the ideological spectrum and across medium, just to have an understanding of what's happening. And I mean, I'm not afraid of consuming content with which I disagree. I mean, because you can make judgments about it. Thanks for the call, and you pass it on. And since the left is so afraid to debate, you almost have to do it, and we do it on this show. We have to bring it. We have to watch it. We have to bring it in so we can present side by side, since so few men and women of the left are men and women enough to stand and deliver on their viewpoints, except, in these echo chambers that we're discussing. I mean, it's so bad. Look, here's an example of what Tucker Carlson was talking about. I mean, these CNN panels, I mean, I guess they're better than MSNBC, by the factor of Scott Jennings. They have one Republican operative on there.
Yeah, it's what I watch. I watch that show.
So this is Scott Jennings talking about X, because, they're piling on X. They're very concerned about Elon Musk owning X. They're not very concerned about George Soros buying up radio stations. They're not very concerned about Steve Jobs' wife owning The Atlantic. They're not concerned about their billionaires owning media, but they're concerned about billionaires that own media that do not agree with them. So this is the focus, and this is an exchange on the panel between Scott Jennings, who's the Republican operative.
Some guy in a cowboy hat.
Carrie Champion, who is a black female leftist on the panel, and Audie Cornish, who's the host, who's another black female leftist on the panel. This is the exchange.
Also, I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott,
of any platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say that. You cannot say that.
So,
That's not the case.
So
Who's the source?
What I find, we reported it on this network.
It's not accurate, and you know it.
Okay, I'll let you make your statement.
Can I reframe it a different way? Because the site changed radically, right? So whether you think the voices it is somehow more balanced now, that's fine. But no doubt Musk's influence is profound, and that you open it up and now you're there with his opinion, and he is now part of this administration. So does anyone else think that there should be this greater concern?
Then Scott Jennings just gets cut off by the host to say, to paper over what he said. This is the reporting yesterday this was over the weekend on CNN. Harry Enton, their numbers guy, who always is with his grids and his circle and his numbers on Twitter, and the Twitter's transformation under Musk.
The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better, and more than that.
That's exactly what he just said, and he just gets dismissed out of hand. But because there is no focus on substance and there's no talent to hold people to account for what they say in real time on these panels, you just get some dingbat. So you can't say that. It's too early in the morning. I just got up. And then the host just sort of blows by. It's their own frickin' reporting. And so the substances, how about that? 48% of Democrats, 47% Republican, mirroring the split in the electorate, and certainly the most accurate reflection of the distribution of opinion in terms of the audience of any particular social media site or the users of any particular social media site. That's X. All of this, it's right-wing propaganda. You have a slight plurality of Democrats self-identifying as getting their news from Twitter. This goes back to the corruption and the lying which CNN and MSNBC traffic in. You lose the trust, you lose your audience. Chet and Lyle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I think people seek the truth first and foremost. And I have to give credit to Governor Abbott, because it was his shipping of illegal immigrants across the country that really brought the truth of illegal immigration nationally to the whole world. It made that whole country made it a campaign issue.
Well, he didn't have a choice. I mean, Eagle Pass is a population of 30,000 people, and they would get tens of thousands. Remember that one day they got 12,000? So he had no choice. He had to ship them, but he shipped them to the right place because they asked for it. We asked for it. We're a sanctuary state, city, county. So there you go.
No, he did have a choice. He absolutely had a choice. And it was a courageous choice he made, because he knew what the blowback would be. He knew the vilification he would suffer. And he did it anyway to do exactly what Chet said. He recognized that the only way you're going to get people to pay attention to this issue is to extend it beyond border states and let them feel like what it's like to be in Eagle Pass, Texas, to feel what it's like to be a border state, to make every state a border state, to bring this home. And obviously the federal government facilitated it and exacerbated it when they started drop shipping thousands of people to small town America, overwhelming these towns. That really brought it home. But no, Abbott does deserve a lot of credit, and it is a good example of understanding that, unfortunately, oftentimes you need to put it between people's eyes for them to really appreciate what's happening and why it's wrong and why something needs to be done. So Abbott does deserve high marks for that. No question about it.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we'll talk to Ivana Greco, homeschooling mom of 3 from Connecticut, who writes on the issues impacting stay-at-home moms and dads. Maybe she'll have some parenting tips I can fold into my Dan Proft Parenting Tips book that I'm writing.
Yes. But first, let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:33, 26 degrees this morning. President-elect Donald Trump's federal election interference case officially dismissed. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion to drop felony charges connected to Donald Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. A judge agreed. President-elect Trump says he'll impose new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China on day one in office.
Mexico and Canada are this country's top 2 trading partners, and the proposed tariffs targeting them could face legal challenges. They go against a trade agreement the last Trump administration negotiated that went into effect in 2020.
Both countries do tariff American-produced goods. Trump took to Truth Social yesterday saying he would execute tariffs of 25% on all goods from Canada and Mexico and slap another 10% on all products from China. The Israeli cabinet meeting at this hour. They will vote on a ceasefire between the Jewish state and the Lebanese paramilitary group funded by Iran, Hezbollah. It comes after Israel is under pressure from both the U.S. and France to reach a ceasefire before President Joe Biden's term expires. President-elect Donald Trump's pick for ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, says there's one major issue: Iran funding terrorism.
This would be wonderful if it holds. But the problem is that Hezbollah and its Iranian-backed proxies like Hamas and the Houthis, they've never kept an agreement.
Lebanon says more than 3,000, according to their sources, have been killed there since Israel's latest offensive. The man picked to lead border enforcement efforts by President-elect Donald Trump will be in South Texas today. Border Czar Tom Homan set to meet with Republican Governor Greg Abbott. No injuries reported after the wings of 2 passenger jets clipped at Logan International Airport in Boston. An arriving American Airlines plane clipped wings with a Frontier Airlines jet. Person shot and killed Monday evening on I-80 near I-355. New Lenox police eventually assisted in taking that suspect into custody without incident. The circumstances continue to be investigated. A child was struck and killed by a vehicle near Algonquin Road and Thoreau Drive. Schaumburg police say the victim was hospitalized and later pronounced dead. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis took the stand Monday in the corruption trial of ex-Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan. Jurors heard Solis and Madigan reference quid pro quo in multiple recordings tied to jobs for Madigan's law firm. Solis cooperated with prosecutors to avoid his own misconduct that was exposed. Chicago sports. Bulls look to get back in the win column when they visit Washington tonight. Blackhawks take on the Stars tomorrow. College hoops fighting Illini cruise to a win over Arkansas Little Rock, 92-34. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder sees a big battle for Trump.
One of the many things Donald Trump says is that we're going to take a fresh look at the 14th Amendment that some people say means an illegal alien born on American soil is an automatic American citizen. This is going to be very interesting next several years. The pushback is going to be absolutely incredible.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. The purpose of statesmanship and governance is to pacify and keep as much peace in the world as possible. With this in mind, the Biden administration's efforts last week encouraging more wartime action from Ukraine are downright insane. When an administration becomes lame duck, the rational position is to ease transition into the new administration, which would include its foreign policy worldview and actions. It's clear to everyone that the incoming Trump administration has no interest in prolonging the war between Ukraine and Russia, but rather creating a ceasefire based somewhere along the lines of where the parties are now. Agree or disagree, this is where everything was headed. It is thus the height of irresponsibility for the Biden administration to make the incoming administration's job more difficult and the war between Russia and Ukraine more deadly. Lame duck administrations have responsibilities. Let me state what's obvious for all who are watching closely. Increasing the war and increasing Putin's chances of using nuclear weapons is the height of insanity and irresponsibility. I'm Seth Leibson.
Ho, ho, ho! Time to check the list.
Hey, Santa, you're looking a little rosier than usual.
Yeah, big guy. Is your blood pressure okay?
Gee, I hope so.
You know, you should drink 120 Life.
Totally. 120 Life is a natural way to help control blood pressure without the side effects of medication.
It's a delicious juice drink and powdered mix with natural ingredients like pomegranates and tart cherries.
It tastes great and is shown to work wonders for blood pressure.
Ho, ho! Best put 120 Life on my list.
Try 120 Life yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack. Order now. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code CHRISTMAS to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied. Lower blood pressure is the gift that keeps on giving. Order now to get the Christmas special of 15% savings and free shipping. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code CHRISTMAS at checkout.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, Rollands, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
640 Team Hotburg Traffic Center time. And this look at the roads is a service of Ready Whip. Topping off a dessert, swirling it into hot cocoa, Ready Whip is here to whip up some holiday cheer. Ready Whip is made with real cream. Pick up a can or two today of Ready Whip. We're watching developments on the southwest side. 59th east and westbound between Kedzie and Troy in the city of Chicago. All closed down and investigating into a shooting that also involved a car into a building. It's on the southwest side of Chicago this morning. 59th shut down east and westbound between Kedzie and Troy. Tri-state stop-and-go traffic between the Hinsdale Oasis and the Reagan I-88, obviously that's northbound, due to an earlier accident involving multiple vehicles that remains in the cleanup stage. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and colder. A little sunshine gives way to clouds and a high near 40. Currently 27. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Interesting survey research work by our next guest, Ivana Greco, and her colleague. on stay-at-home parents. Recently, they conducted a survey of almost 1,500 stay-at-home parents to ask them who they were, what challenges they faced, what help they wanted and needed. Also ran a series of focus groups with different cohorts of stay-at-home parents in North Carolina. And the results are interesting. I mean, one of them, maybe, I don't know, do people really think this way? Does sort of TV completely distorted their reality of certain things like stay-at-home families? If you watch the Real Housewives shows, writes Ivana Greco, you might think that stay-at-home parents are mainly rich moms who spend all their time wasting money and creating drama. Or if you meander about downtown Hinsdale, you might think that too. But most families with stay-at-home parents aren't rich. Instead, they're hardworking families that still struggle to balance the family budget. Many are people of color. Many family with a stay-at-home parent now have the dad at home instead of mom. Don't get me started on that.
Well, it happens.
Uh-huh.
The mom has a higher paying job than, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we have two of them in our neighborhood, and I like our stay-at-home dads.
Uh-huh.
We do coffee and yoga.
It's not emasculating at all.
Not
no,
at
I know.
all. I mean,
no, it's not. Yeah, everybody puts on their Lululemon stretch pants and goes out for coffee. I got it.
I know.
All right, I know that's me being a Philistine and an ogre. I know. Anyway, for more on this, since I'm the product of a stay-at-home mom, and dad too. Dad gets some credit, but mainly mom. Usually the case. Ivana Greco is a homemaker and homeschooling mom of 3, homeschools too, from Connecticut, who writes on the issues impacting stay-at-home moms and dads. Her Substack is entitled The Homefront. The Homefront.substack.com is where you can get her writings and, as I mentioned, research. Ivana Greco, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
So give us more a color from your research on how we should be conceiving families with a stay-at-home parent today, as maybe compared to 30 years ago when I was growing up, or as maybe how we misunderstand stay-at-home parents because of culture, like the Real Housewives.
Sure, definitely. So one thing that is really interesting about stay-at-home parents today is a lot of them actually work a little bit. People may be, like myself, homeschooling. I actually have 4 kids now. Homeschooling their kids. Their kids are not in school, or they're not in daycare or any form of outside childcare. But they still do work a little bit. Like some people give piano lessons. Some people work after the kids are in bed at night. I talked to one woman who is a nurse who works overnight shifts. And then her husband lets her sleep in the morning, and then she cares for her kids during the day. So families that have decided to care for their kids at home rather than sending them outside of the home have a lot of different ways they organize their lives, these ways to care for their kids the way that they want to, but still make enough money to try to balance the family budget. Because as you mentioned, these are mainly not rich people. These are really hardworking people who are trying to care for their kids the best way they know how.
Well, it's particularly folding in the, and by the way, congratulations on your 4th child. But particularly folding in the homeschooling piece of it. What I hear from homeschooling families mainly is, I want the government to leave me alone. I'm afraid to get the government too involved in my life because I don't want them to intrude on my education of my children. But you suggest from your survey research and thinking about these issues that there are perhaps government policies that could be more friendly to stay-at-home parents.
That's right, yeah. So I think one important thing to understand about stay-at-home parents is we don't think of them as productive members of society, or some parts of news media sort of paint them as like, oh, they're not contributing to the GDP. So what value do they have? And I could not disagree with that more. I think moms, and as you know, sometimes dads these days at home, are incredibly useful to the larger society. They raise kids. They take care of the elderly. And so I think in some ways we really owe them a debt. And so when we talk to parents about the kind of support that they're looking for, It really is stuff that just ordinary people struggle with also. One big thing is the child tax credit, which is sort of coming up for debate in D.C. right now. People who are stay-at-home parents are looking for that to be maintained or possibly expanded. Stay-at-home parents are often the people in this country that are having the kids. So there's discussion in D.C. right now about baby bonuses, like that families could get a tax credit around the time they have a child being born to give some help with the extra expenses we all face when a new baby arrives in the house. So these are the kinds of things that I would really like government policymakers, politicians to think about when they're thinking about the tax bill.
What about getting a tax credit for homeschooling? I mean, you're paying taxes for your kids to go to public schools, and they're being homeschooled.
Yeah, so I mean, as a homeschooler myself, I'd be totally thrilled to get such a credit. You know, not all stay-at-home parents, I should say, are homeschoolers, but that is exactly the kind of creative thinking that would really help these families who, again, really are, kind of essential infrastructure, I would argue, in the United States.
And, there's, I don't know. It's just one of those things with government where you get concerned about, benefits come with strings from the government. And to me, you worry about the government using those opportunities, depending on who's in charge, once those programs are in place, to insinuate themselves even more into the family and between parents and kids, as we've seen the government have a penchant to do on a variety of issues.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, what I would say with stay-at-home parents is we already do give a lot of public funding to families that have two working parents. There's a lot of funding out there for different kinds of preschool, for different kinds of daycares, tax credits available for people who have both parents in the workforce. And what I would like policymakers to do is to make it fair. If they're going to be subsidizing having two parents in the workforce, I think they should also give thought to families that have decided to have a kid at home, so that families really feel enabled to make the choice that they're comfortable with, whether it comes to putting the kid in daycare or having their baby at home. I want families in America to feel like they have the option rather than that they're being slotted into one route.
What's your perspective on the sort of stigma, to the extent there is one, on stay-at-home moms, in particular in the sort of post-third wave feminism era?
Yeah, so I experienced that myself. I was a lawyer for about a decade before I started staying home with my kids. And I can tell you personally, people just do not treat you the same way at dinner parties when you introduce yourself as a stay-at-home mom versus when I was introducing myself as a lawyer. So I think there's a lot of work.
Don't go to those dinner parties. Why are you going to those things? Why are you putting yourself through it?
Well, we still love our friends and our neighbors and our community, but people certainly that they don't treat you the same. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think policymakers actually could help just by saying, look, stay-at-home moms are valuable members of society. There's all this emphasis right now on, getting women to the highest rung of academia and law firms and corporations, and I should say I'm all for that. I think that stuff is all great, but I want also there to be respect for the women who are taking care of little kids at home, because they're also doing a really important job.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. I mean, as a homeschooler and as a stay-at-home mom, what are your biggest challenges?
Well, I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, an almost 2-year-old, and a 4-week-old baby. So,
oh my gosh!
Say
no more.
That's enough. But I think the big thing is, like everybody else, we think about our budget, we think about housing costs, we think about healthcare costs, because we did take a big hit when I dropped out of the workforce. I was making more money than my husband, and we're lucky that he has a stable, good-paying job, but there's a lot of concerns that go along with that, and many families are facing much tighter financial squeezes than we are. And I talked to a mother of 7. And this woman, God bless her, she's doing amazing work. She's raising 7 kids, but she, every month, she's trying to plot out how to afford groceries for these kids, some of whom are now teenage boys. And, they're really struggling, and they could use a hand. And, they're a married couple. Her husband works full time. He's doing his best. But they definitely could use a little help.
Yeah, I just wonder what your reaction was to all the contretemps, as it were, during the campaign with J.D. Vance and the childless cat lady's comment. And, I mean, stipulating that maybe that's not the best angle into the larger conversation, but it did get to a conversation about people having family and what women want ultimately. And, I mean, this has been going on for, of course, a long time. In terms of sort of the argument about, yes, you can have it all, but maybe not at the same time. It's that sort of thing, like Erica Komisar writes about. And I just wonder how you think that maybe what happened during the campaign will drive a better understanding generally of family and stay-at-home parenting, in the coming months and years ahead.
I really hope so. I mean, I thought Senator Vance, now Vice President Vance, did a wonderful job during the vice presidential debate where he talked about his wife and how she is an attorney. She's brilliant. She has all these resources at her disposal, but she also really struggled when she had kids, as many women do, to make it all work between job and family life. And how much he wants families to have a choice to feel good, that whether they're putting their child in outside care with grandma, with a nanny, or caring for their kids at home. He said that he really wants families to feel like they have a choice, and I think that that's just right. That's the message we need from our political leaders, that we're going to make it possible for families to decide what's best for their own kids.
Ivana Greco is a homemaker, homeschooling mom of four, from Connecticut, who writes on the issues impacting stay-at-home moms and dads. Her Substack, The Homefront, thehomefront.substack.com. Ivana Greco, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for our weekly installment of In-Depth History with Frank from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank, the history teacher, does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will soon be heading up a new, hopefully temporary agency called the Department of Governmental Efficiency, or the DOGE for short. Now, one area we don't want to become more efficient is the IRS. I like that department, if it exists at all, to be as antiquated as it currently is. But it's kind of appropriate the acronym came out that way, as the wealthiest medieval Italian state was the Republic of Venice, which was led by a figure called the Doge. And boy, did the Venetians play a number on the most powerful and decadent empire of the time, Byzantium. In 1204, the very powerful Pope Innocent III called for a fourth crusade to evict the Muslims from Jerusalem. Much of this venture was funded by Venice, but through many machinations and maneuvers, the Crusaders eventually wound up sacking Constantinople instead of ever going to the Holy Land. So then from 1204 to 1261, Byzantium was divided into many rather weak Latin kingdoms. This disarray coincided with the rise of Genghis Khan and his golden horde rampaging across Central Asia. By the 1240s, his sons raided modern-day Turkey and Bulgaria, eventually setting up the Great Silk Road, which allowed the voyages of Marco Polo a few decades later. but Constantinople never recovered its former glory. So Byzantium was weakened first by internal decay, and then it fell to outsiders in 1204. And the lesson here, I think, is we want the Doge to reduce the size and scope of our government. The central planning must end, and the administrative state must be eviscerated. But the federalist nature of our system needs to remain, as our government must be strong enough to counter both nullification schemes at the state and local levels, as well as external threats, if we ever want to be a shining city on a hill again.
Very good. It's ironic because Sacking Constantinople was the name of my high school band, Frank. It was a They Might Be Giants cover band. You may recall their hit, Istanbul, Not Constantinople.
Yes, they are. And, you know, you and I are the same age. I knew there was, I thought that might be you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that
You
would
recall
be-
that from, an earlier age when, we were hot for a time. And then it sort of faded out because I couldn't sing.
You performed at the Prospect Heights Summerfest, right?
I mean, this is the definition, though, of, yes, exactly. This is the definition of, Frank from Arlington Heights, the history you don't know. The Doge dates back to the 13th century. I'm sure that's what Elon and Vivek had in mind, Frank.
Exactly. Now, Amy, I want to know, did you ever go to Prospect Theater, the Rocky Horror Show?
I did
you ever go there?
not. Prospect, you mean Mount Prospect? There was no
Yeah, the good old Prospect Theater with 50-cent Tuesdays. That was the place to go.
more
I never went to Rocky
Swain's
Horror Show,
Theater.
but I thought that might have been your thing. I don't know.
I was gonna ask if you dressed up Tim Curry style for the Rocky Horror Picture Show there, Frank.
No, I did not.
You don't have any of those skeletons in your closet, pun intended.
No, I do not.
All
I would
right.
like to work for the Doge though, except I still got to teach. So
Yeah.
You can do a
Yeah.
side hustle.
Well, you could just be a chronic absentee teacher like they have in CPS.
Yeah,
I
there you
don't
go.
know.
There you go.
Go to Africa for 10 days.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Frank, as always. Nicely done. Coming up at 7:07, our friend Chris Arnatti on why the world loves America. 7:07.
He's still walking the world. Today it's going to be breezy, colder with sunshine giving way to clouds. A high, we hope, of 40 degrees. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The Trump border czar goes to the border today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We're not waiting to January 20th. We're already planning what we're going to do to lock down the state of Texas.
Tom Homan also tells Fox this morning they plan to secure the whole border to stop illegal crossings, which he says have led to 4,000 migrant deaths since President Biden took office.
Children die almost every day. Children get sexually assaulted. 31% of women that make that journey get sexually assaulted. And this administration has been hiding it. This is something we're going to address. We're going to show the American people exactly what we're doing on the border and why we need to do it.
Some Democratic mayors and governors plan to resist Trump mass deportations next year. Immigration issues at both the northern and southern borders leading President-elect Trump to threaten tariffs, writing on Truth Social.
On January 20th is one of my many first executive orders. I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States, explaining the tariffs would remain in place until the two countries crack down on drugs, specifically fentanyl and migrants crossing the border illegally.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. The Trump Post also threatens a 10% additional tariff on China for the flow of the drug fentanyl into the U.S. A Chinese embassy statement says no one wins a trade war. There's a new proposed Biden policy out this morning that could help overweight Americans afford weight loss drugs like Wegovy or Ozempic, making them eligible for Medicare or Medicaid coverage. Though President-elect Trump would have to agree to that, the rule wouldn't take effect until he takes office. It's a busy morning at airports 2 days before Thanksgiving, but so far there are only 30 flight cancellations.
TSA expects to screen more than 18 million passengers during the Thanksgiving holiday. TSA says its goal is to get passengers through general screening lines in under 30 minutes and pre-check lines in 10 minutes or less.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Atlanta. AAA predicts a record number of us will travel for the holiday, about 80 million, though most will drive. America's listening to Fox News.
27 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Person was shot and killed Monday evening on I-80 near the I-355 tollway entrance in New Lenox. Illinois State Police say the victim was rushed from the scene, hospitalized with life-threatening injuries, and later died. The circumstances leading up to that shooting remain unclear. A child was struck and killed by a vehicle Monday evening in Schaumburg, near Algonquin Road and Thoreau Drive. The driver is cooperating with that investigation. Parents in Darien last night voicing concerns after a special meeting days after learning a student brought a loaded gun into Hinsdale South High School. Many are now demanding metal detectors.
We're in an age that we have to take all measures possible to keep the kids safe. And I'd say using a metal detector would be the first step.
DuPage County State's Attorney Bob Berlin was at the meeting.
As prosecutors, we rely on the police to bring us the evidence and bring us a case that we can prove in court. And that happened in this case.
The student has been charged with 2 felony weapons counts. A judge ordered that he remain in custody until his next court date next week. The Bears could be a step closer to securing a location for their new stadium. Team reaching an agreement on property taxes with the Arlington Heights School District yesterday.
Would be happy if the Bears came. I think that it's good for economic growth in our area. I think the land and the area where the Bears want to put their stadium, it's a great opportunity for the Bears.
Property tax rates were a major barrier in Chicago's bid to build a new stadium on the old Arlington Racecourse property. Mayor Brandon Johnson reversing plans to cut 162 vacant positions tied to Chicago Police Department reforms. Meantime, at City Hall yesterday, 14 aldermen pushed back against the mayor's proposed $150 million property tax hike, citing results from a privately funded poll showing widespread opposition.
It's a wake-up call to a number of our colleagues that the voters have spoken in this poll. A property tax increase is not what they want to see in balancing this year's city budget.
Alderman Brendan Riley saying with 5 weeks left to finalize next year's budget, tensions remain high at City Hall. Bulls look to get back in the win column, visiting Washington tonight. Blackhawks and Stars tomorrow night at the United Center. College hoops, Fighting Illini crush Arkansas Little Rock 92-34. Monday night football, Baltimore over the Chargers 30-23. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Hot air roasted locally, cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka looks forward to January.
Tom Homan is coming out of the faucet. You open a faucet, he's on Fox, he's on Newsmax. He's out there. Doesn't it tell you about Tom Homan that everybody else who's been nominated, not in the media, just behind the scenes, in transition, doing work for the boss? Tom Homan is already out there.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. Don't miss out on Black Friday sales, live now through November 30th.
Police officer and K-9 handler Jacob Russell Chaffins was fatally shot while attempting to serve warrants for domestic violence offenses. And thanks to friends like you and your generosity, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave the Chaffins family the gift of a mortgage-free home. There's so much more to do and to say thank you to our nation's heroes and their families for their immense sacrifices, all for us. Donate $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Listen, I'm 97. I'm 86. I'm 70 years old.
I've been a very happy customer.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you. I think it's wonderful stuff.
I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
It's the best stuff in the world. It's good stuff.
I'm 81 years old. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I walk every morning and every evening with my dog. Since I have been taking this Balance of Nature, I just can't say enough about it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average. To get your smile back, learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Kennedy, 51 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike on the inbound side right now, 42 into the old post office. I-55 southbound just after the I-80 construction zone. You have an accident on both shoulders. Southwest side of Chicago, 59th east and westbound between Kedzie and Troy completely shut down. A police investigation into a shooting that also involved a car into a building. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Sun giving way to some clouds, a breezy cold day, high today 40, cloudy tonight, low 34, cloudy day tomorrow, the high 41, a snow shower late tomorrow night, low 32, snow showers on Thanksgiving Day, the high at 37. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 26 degrees. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I was about to say top of the world, Mom, like Jimmy Cagney in White Heat, because I'm thinking about our next guest, Chris Arnott, circumnavigating the globe on foot. He's out there again. This piece he wrote about American cultural impact on the globe is really interesting. It reminds me of this experience I had, and I'm not nearly the globetrotter that Chris Arnott had, but back in the early 1990s, I probably told this story before, that about 3 years after the wall fell, I was in college and I did a summer program in Washington, D.C., and then I went to Eastern Europe to go to the World Libertarian Convention in Tallinn, Estonia, because, you know, I was a dork.
Well, but then weren't you spinning, didn't you go to a disco and be a DJ too or something?
I bartended at a underground rave for a libertarian organization in Stockholm.
Of course you did. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That's what Dan does.
But you know, the interesting, so Tallinn, Estonia, though. So now think about this. This was 3 years after the wall fell. So this is 92. And the president of Estonia, which was one of the more sort of like a 30-something-year-old Milton Friedmanite. So they were really trying to push free markets and embrace the collapse of totalitarianism in Eastern Europe. But anyway, so we're staying with a high school buddy of mine, and we're staying in one hotel. We go to this other more upscale hotel because we were not the gentlemen of society that we are today, of course. We're just getting by. And so we go to this other upscale hotel that has a club in the ground floor of the hotel. And literally, I thought I walked onto the set of the Palladium, like Club MTV. I thought I was going to see Julie Brown in the center of the dance floor. It was something ripped from MTV. And it reminds that, George Will's famous formulation that the Cold War is over and the University of Chicago won it, talking about the wall falling, and the idea that our freedom-oriented economic system ultimately was and compared to their command control system in the Soviet Empire was ultimately what undid the Soviet Empire. But just the cultural impact. And you see it too, like when you see these caravans coming from southern Mexico to our southern border, and you see people wearing Lakers T-shirts and
Right.
all sorts of sports teams or band paraphernalia, T-shirts and hats and stuff. The impact of American culture the world over. And so I was really entertained by this piece that Arnatti wrote for the Free Press, talking about some of his experiences around the globe too, including in places where you wouldn't expect to find, for example, a fan of Alan Jackson's music. For more on this, Chris Arnatti, writer and photographer, currently taking a walk around the world, as we mentioned. He's also the author of Dignity, Seeking Respect in Back Row America. Chris, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and I'm not surprised you used to be a libertarian dork.
Hashtag.
Yeah,
Yes.
used to be may not be. I may need to remove used to be. Anyway, it's you never know where you'll find a fan of Alan Jackson or Tag Team these days, do you?
No, yeah, I mean, the Alan Jackson thing was in a small fishing village. I'm talking about, a small fishing village in Uganda, right off of Lake Victoria. And I'm talking about, put on your kind of politically inappropriate hat and think about, wood shacks and, people serving up fried fish and a lot of pollution and people basically living, kind of like a cartoon version of what someone thinks about Africa. And there in the middle of it all is a guy blasting Alan Jackson song hold with an American flag called, I think it was Gone Country is the song, I believe.
Yeah, Gone Country, yeah.
Yeah, and, this comes after when I first arrived in Uganda at Entebbe Airport. It's far away from the city, so I had to take a cab. My cab driver was playing Patty Loveless.
Wow. Crazy.
And it's just like there's this naive idea somehow that you're going to go to Africa or Uganda and hear all these native chanting music. No, you're going to hear maybe Alan Jackson, Patty Loveless, and Travis Tritt. So and the U.S. has a lot of cultural influence, and this piece was written in response to this kind of dumb tweet by this foreign policy intellectual who claimed that the U.S. has no kind of influence around the world, and that's kind of an attitude I think you see in a lot of intellectuals, kind of a self-loathing hate of America, and who talk bad about America, talk about how the world hates us. And this especially was true ahead of the election with Trump, where you heard a lot of people saying that, I go overseas and all I hear about is how embarrassed it is to be American, how embarrassed I am to be American with all these people hating Trump. And in Uganda, all I heard was people tell me how great Trump was. So there's a very disconnect between how I think academics in the U.S. talk about how the world perceives the U.S. and how the world perceives the U.S.
Well, right. I mean, and oh, by the way, I mean, this is a quotidian point, but it bears repeating for the academics of the left listening. I doubt there are many. Right. So all these people that are trying to break into this country that they despise so much, what they're really talking about is sort of their brethren in these elite circles in other countries that went to the same schools and have the same sort of haughty attitude against in the direction of anyone's not them.
Yeah, I mean, there's this idea that when you travel overseas, you should be embarrassed to be American. and I've heard this a lot from academics. I went to Netherlands, and everybody was. I had to apologize for our election.
Yeah, right.
I was like, where'd you go? Where'd you go to the sociology department of the University of Amsterdam?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've been traveling now nonstop around the world for 4 years, and
how
what
many
I
countries
hear
have
is
you walked through?
probably at this point 40 or 50.
Wow.
And at this point, all I hear is if anybody ever talks about politics, which is rarely, I've generally heard as much praise for Trump as I've heard, frustration. But what I usually just hear is like, oh God, you're American, let's talk. And they're excited. They want to hear about America. They want to talk about, in Faroe Islands of all places, it was talking about Rick Springfield. Or skate punk music, or in Mongolia, it was hip hop. And so there's this huge kind of respect the world has for America and American culture that's actually just deeper than being a fan of the TV show Friends or what have you. But it's also they value what they see what we have is, which is a relative freedom.
Absolutely. And I liked some of what you wrote too about your experience where they take something that perhaps is an American musical intervention, a genre like hip hop, and then they sort of want to make their own version of that sort of music with some of their cultural traditions or their sensibility. I mean, that's just the sort of how culture connects people from different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you can spend a few hours on YouTube, and you could just choose any country randomly in the world, and they'll have a version of hip hop, and you should watch it. It's kind of fun. I'm not a huge hip hop fan myself, but when you see Ugandan hip hop or Mongolian hip hop or Indian hip hop or Pakistani hip hop, it's you realize how influential the U.S. is, and how I guess the American academic left would accuse them of cultural appropriation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. How dare you spin that Alan Jackson record, right? Yeah, where's some leftist skull to tell him to turn that music off, right? That's great.
So I mean, but again, I think deeper. There's a deeper admiration for the U.S. And as you talked about the immigration issue, when I left. I'll keep on talking about Uganda because that's just one that's, I think, very, very salient. But when I left, I was in Uganda for 2.5 weeks, and I left with about 50 WhatsApp contacts because everybody wants to keep in touch. Because effectively they want to get a green card. They want to come to the United States, And
do they want to do it legally or illegally?
They would rather do it legally, of course. I mean, I would say that behind the illegal immigration is a true desire to come to the U.S. For many of the right reasons,
Yeah, right.
So,
do they know
sure.
did they get the message that if Trump becomes president, that it's going to be harder to get into this country?
Well, to kind of pivot a little bit to that issue, what I will say is I spend a lot of time in El Paso, and so when somebody comes illegally over the border, the nonprofits and the NGOs once they get asylum, which is very quick, they get a mesh bag. A little mesh bag with like basic enough to get them by for a week. And so when you're in El Paso, you can walk around and you can spot the people who just came over the border with their little mesh bags. And so I stay in cheap motels, and the cheap motel that I stay in, the number of people having that mesh bag, there were a lot of Turkish people and a lot of Africans there because they had realized this was a year and a half ago that you can fly to Mexico City, and then they'll take certain people will take you to the border, and you walk across and claim asylum. But that process is known around the world. And once Trump shuts that down, that knowledge will disseminate, and people will know that in theory you shouldn't be able to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to volunteer to be like a cultural attaché to Tom Homan, where I would say we should let the guy wearing a George Thorogood and the Destroyers T-shirt in because that's a guy wwho gets it. But somebody wearing a Taylor Swift T-shirt, I'm sorry, we're going to have to turn you away. What do you think about that?
The amount of I would say that as a snob myself, the culture that does go out to the U.S. is outside the U.S. is not necessarily my choice. Although I have to say I really do like Alan Jackson, so that worked.
Yeah, very good. Now, the last time we talked to you, you were making a trip, making the rounds in back row America, as you call it, and you stopped your trip because you were sort of getting depressed that things had not improved since your previous trip, and I would encourage you. I'm not scheduling you or anything, giving you a homework assignment, but it would be really interesting to circle back to a lot of these back row American communities and check in with them in a couple of years too. And I don't know if you had any plans to do that, to see if some of the promises and the optimism that are associated with some of the promises actually bear fruit.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, looking back at that trip, it should have been clear to me that the fact that nothing has changed should have been a sign that Trump, there was going to be a lot of support for Trump out there.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I was pretty, I was not following the elections intentionally. I did not try to think about the elections intentionally, and I was actually in China when the elections happened. But I will say that everything I wrote 8 years ago has come true. You're seeing the massive shift towards the Republicans in the working class across all races, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Something I wrote about happening 8 years ago, because contrary to what a lot of academics think, the working class is if you don't have if you don't have a college degree, there's a lot more unifying. A black person without a college degree and a Hispanic without a college degree is similar to a white guy without a college degree. They're much more similar than they are to kind of a college professor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of is our divisions in the U.S. right now, is this big educational divide. And I think we saw that in this election. And, the Democrats, I will focus more on the Democrats because to me, it's just clear 8 years ago, I wrote this book talking about the education divide, and I expected to get approached by a lot of political consultants on the left. I only got approached by political consultants on the right, the Democrats put their head in the sand over the issue, and it shows in this election. They have no idea. They have no idea. They've become even more the party of the front row of the educated elite, and they have no idea how to touch they are with what I call back row America, and the results of the election are part of that, are due to that.
You said that when you're traveling around to these other countries, they don't talk politics that much, and I just wanted to delve into that a little bit more, especially since you're traveling to some countries where they are kleptocracies or they're repressive societies, generally speaking. And I just wonder if the focus on wanting to talk about America is in part because they're fatalistic about their own country, that in terms of things changing, or perhaps enjoying some of the freedoms or opportunities they see or they hear about Americans having. Because I mean, there is sort of maybe somewhat of an analog in some places in America, some big blue cities in America, where there's that same sort of fatalism. I don't like the way things are, but I'm sort of hopeless about the possibility of improving them. I really don't feel like I have dominion over my own life.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a fair amount of fatalism. Uganda's had the same leader for 35 years. He keeps winning the elections by overwhelming odds. China obviously has the issues it has, but I think and so consequently, one of the things I tell people when they say, "Well, as an American, I'm kind of scared to travel overseas because they'll judge me for my country's my foreign policy, whatever." I said, look, there's nobody who understands you shouldn't blame citizens for the actions of a country better than foreigners. If you've been in a repressive regime, you know that. By and large, a lot of the citizens are not responsible for the behavior of the political class. So I think there's an empathy there that they get. But at the same time, I think there's something a little bit deeper, which is I think, I know this is talk radio, so the listeners here have a certain bent, but I think most people, they want to get on with their life. They don't want to focus overall about politics. Life is kind of life is short. There's a lot going on, and the kind of family issues and kind of other things are more important than politics. And I think that's kind of a universal, and I think that's true in the U.S. too. And sometimes we forget that that it's especially true if it feels like the politicians only approach you once every 4 years to ask you how you are, disingenuously so they can get your vote. And I think there is a cynicism that what I call a justified cynicism that builds up in places where I actually, I wrote a piece in defense of people who don't vote, because it's in many ways it's like the right thing to do. Is like I'm getting nothing out of this. It's time to exit stage left and focus on improving my own life, not worrying about what goes on in these places I can't control.
So where are you now?
I'm actually home. I just got home after 2 months on the road. So,
all right. Well,
take a nice break.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, have some turkey and stuffing and relax for a little bit before you hit the road again.
What does a libertarian nerd do for Thanksgiving?
Oh, do tell him.
I get a pre-made meal over at my golf club.
What about your hungry man Jack, the turkey?
Yeah, well, and then I split it with my dog. I split it with my dog.
You're outsourcing it. You're outsourcing it.
I am, and I split it with my dog, who, just to confirm the libertarian dork, his name is Hayek, and he's not named after Selma.
Oh Jesus!
I know.
This is what we have to deal with.
I know, Chris. I know. It's there's nothing I can do about it at this stage. Chris Arnade is a writer and photographer, the author of the book Dignity: Seeking Respect in Back Row America. Chris, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Ever find yourself in a situation where your cell phone just won't connect? Maybe you're hiking through the mountains, sailing offshore, or caught in a storm that knocks out cell towers. In an emergency, your cell phone may not cut it. You need to visit the satellite phone store at sat123.com so you stay safe and never worry about dropping signals again. When hurricanes, hacking, or weather interruptions strike, stay connected with a satellite phone. Unlike cell phones, satellite phones connect directly to satellites, ensuring reliable communication from anywhere on the planet, no matter the conditions. Visit sat123.com to have peace of mind. Even now, areas affected by Hurricane Helene still lack cell service. But satellite phones, they're still working and 100% reliable. Don't wait for the next disaster. Secure your lifeline today with a satellite phone. Visit sat123.com. Stay safe. Stay connected at sat123.com.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
I heard about it for 3 months, and I kept wanting to do it, and I just didn't. And I finally said, I'm going to do it. I just feel overall better, but I've continued to take it.
Oh, I really like them. I feel good while I'm on them, and they're easy to take, and they seem to be working well.
I love it. I love the product. And not only the product, the people that work for them, too, are really nice. That's another plus. It's the best product on the market.
I think it's a good product, so that's the reason I'll continue to take it.
It's a wonderful product. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to take it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The new administration has hinted at one of its boldest moves yet, America's return to the gold standard. Backing the U.S. dollar with gold would create stability in a time of rapid economic change, pushing the price of gold higher than we've seen in decades. Those who act now could be positioned to benefit the most. Premier Gold specializes in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts utilize a little-known loophole to move some of their savings into physical gold. Today, they'd like to send you a free gold standard kit to help you decide if this process is right for you. Call 606-800-8000 to take advantage of current rollover policies. Early action on physical gold could position your portfolio for maximum growth. Call Premier Gold at 606-800-8000 Call 606-800-8000 now. Premier Gold is not a financial advisor. Please consult with your advisor before investing. Call 606-800-8000.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Some breaking news from WBEZ. They've just discovered that property tax rates are particularly high in South Cook County. Wow.
Wow.
They are on the ball at BEZ. We'll talk to Ted Dabrowski about property taxes and Illinois finances and all things Illinois policy related, 737.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Say hello once again to Mike Scott.
26 degrees, sunshine at 7:32. Israeli jets have struck at a residential building in central Beirut, issuing a new evacuation order for 20 buildings in the Lebanese capital. The strike leveled that building in the Basta neighborhood. It came hours before Israel's security cabinet is scheduled to meet to vote on a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal. Thanksgiving travelers in the Northeast and Great Lakes regions off and running this morning. Rain and snow in that forecast. Felony charges against President-elect Donald Trump in connection with alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election have been dismissed. A judge granting special counsel Jack Smith's motion to dismiss those charges. President-elect Trump's new border czar will be in Texas today. Tom Homan will visit a South Texas ranch. Starbucks is having to manually pay its employees after a ransomware attack crippled the third-party software system the company uses. Blue Yonder, an Arizona-based cloud service, was hacked last week, disrupting some grocery stores and Fortune 500 companies. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis took the stand Monday in the corruption trial of ex-Illinois House Speaker, Democrat Michael Madigan. Jurors heard Solis and Madigan reference quid pro quo in multiple recordings tied to jobs for Madigan's law firm. Parents in Darien voicing concerns after a special meeting Monday night, days after learning a student brought a loaded handgun into Hinsdale South High School. And at last night's meeting, many parents demanded metal detectors.
We're in an age that we have to take all measures possible to keep the kids safe. And I'd say using a metal detector would be the first step.
The student has been charged with 2 felony weapons counts, including aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. A judge ordered he remain in custody until his next court appearance next week. There's a full lockdown in effect at the East Moline Correctional Center. The minimum security prison went on lockdown late last night. The Illinois Department of Corrections website says no visitors are allowed in, but did not provide any other details. The Bulls look to get back in the win column when they visit Washington tonight, while the Stars take on the Blackhawks tomorrow at the UC. Last night at Assembly Hall, the Fighting Illini went over Arkansas Little Rock 92-34. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher defends a cabinet choice.
The guy who a charge was leveled against in the Justice Department took their full weight and power and investigated him and said, there's nothing there. We exonerate him. Matt Gaetz was put through the ringer, and Trump can relate to what it feels like to have the Justice Department weaponized against you. It's a beautiful Trump move.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. In 1621, having just survived their first year in a new land, and regardless that half of their original voyagers died, the Pilgrims paused for 3 days and gave thanks to the God Almighty for his great providence. In 1789, a year after the ratification of the U.S. Constitution, when America was in the midst of rebuilding and expanding, but also facing challenges to simply survive, George Washington issued the first official presidential proclamation of Thanksgiving. Washington acknowledged the providence of Almighty God. In 1863, just months after the Battle of Gettysburg, which saw over 51,000 dead or wounded, and while the Civil War was far from over, President Lincoln issued his Thanksgiving proclamation and also declared the last Thursday in November as a national holiday and a day of national Thanksgiving. In his address, Lincoln noted, in the midst of a civil war of unequaled magnitude and severity, peace has been preserved with all nations, order has been maintained, the laws have been respected and obeyed, and harmony has prevailed everywhere, except in the theater of military conflict. Again, Lincoln recognized the great fortunes of America in the midst of civil war. He also acknowledged where those great fortunes came from. No human counsel hath devised, nor hath any mortal hand worked out these great things. They are the gracious gifts of the Most High God. In 2020, President Trump's Thanksgiving address began with, on Thanksgiving Day, we thank God for the abundant blessings in our lives. By 2023, Catholic Biden had completely removed the very emphasis of Thanksgiving in America, that we recognize the Almighty God and thank Him. He didn't mention the Almighty God even once. This Thanksgiving, Americans have a lot to be thankful for. Let's not forget from whom those blessings come, nor our duty to protect those blessings for generations to come. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RADIO for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code RADIO.
7:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. In this update, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Kennedy, accident inbound between Montrose and North Avenue, and a travel time of 45 minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. An accident on both shoulders, southbound 55, just after the construction zone on I-80. Accident on the Jane Addams near Route 53. That accident this morning is on the left-hand shoulder. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Breezy and colder. Morning sunshine gives way to afternoon clouds and a high near 40. Currently 26. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. I'm reading this story from WBEZ.
Is it breaking news, Dan?
Well, we paid for this story, so I want to consume it. You know, I want to get what I paid for. The date on the story is November 25th of 2024, but it could be November 25th of 2004, perhaps 1994. But, you know, it's a It's always better to finally arrive than to never have arrived at all. Residents of Chicago's south suburbs are dealing with crushing tax increases. You don't say.
Really?
They talked to some experts, and apparently what we have in the Southland is a shrinking tax base, growing assessments, and a sluggish economy leading to record high tax hikes for South suburban residents. Maybe somebody at WBEZ wants to go south of Taylor Street, because what they'll find is that the Southland has been a demilitarized zone for the better part of the last 3 decades. And it's in large measure due to Cook County's property tax classification system and the flight of industry from the Southland to collar counties like Will, as to, of course, Northwest Indiana. You wonder why people don't have an appreciation for how what happened when one of the great news agency, NPR, is 3 decades late to the dance. Ted, thank you for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you, guys. It's fascinating how suddenly this is the big news, and WBZ's finally figured it out. It's been tragic for a long time, and I've been down there many times, and I know you have, and I know a lot of our colleagues who've covered this have been down there. But it's been destruction for a long, long time, especially once the companies started leaving those areas, manufacturing left, and you drive around there, and it's phenomenal. And I remember when I went before COVID, and I think I told that story. Jeannie Eyes and I went down and did a press conference about how nobody was talking about this issue. And after we did the press conference, and NBC5 was there, and we got some coverage. So I went to some sandwich store, and I met this young black man. And so I say, "Hey, how are you?" And I asked him about where he's from, and he was from Harvey. And I said, "Do you live here?" And he said, "Yes. I've been working here." And I said, "Where do you live?" And he goes, "Here in Harvey. I'm trying to. My parents have left. They decided to leave Illinois. They went to Mississippi, and the house that we have, they're trying to sell it for $50,000 because I don't think we're going to get $5,000 for it." Oh. Mm-hmm. And that's what it struck me that this whole property tax thing had destroyed. It wasn't just property taxes; it's the whole destruction of these suburbs, and. There was no hope left, and he was still in the house, but he's just trying to get rid of it for $5,000. That tells you how desperate people have been, and yet WBEZ and these groups would never cover it, or at least not cover it in the right way, and assign the blame that needs to be assigned for the problems they have down there.
Well, right. How could they assign the blame? Because, they're supposed to, they're supposed to be speaking truth to power. They're supposed to be afflicting the comfortable and comforting the afflicted. These are majority minority communities to a community in the south suburbs in the Southland. And what could you say other than the policies that we promoted and the politicians that we promoted destroyed your community and your home's value? That's not a very good story. So let's just better ignore it.
They'll ignore it, or they'll blame that we don't have enough money to fund for things, which implies tax hikes and things like that. They'll give cover to the likes of Governor Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, and those who, you have to remember.
How about the guy on trial right now?
Yeah, that guy too, right? And so, you've had Democrat-controlled Chicago for 93 plus years, and same thing for Cook County, 100 plus years, and yet, they don't get assigned the blame, and it's been corrupt for so long, and it continues. Now, the good news is that they're covering it somewhat. The question is going to be, if they don't cover it right, it leads to the wrong policy choices afterwards.
Now, speaking of Governor Pritzker, I wanted to talk to you because he's planning on fighting Trump. I don't know in what ways when he sends ICE agents in to get Tren de Agua gang members out of Chicago. What do you think is going to happen? How do you foresee this future of ours?
Well, I think it's just a really losing strategy on Pritzker's part. Given what happened in the election results, given what we've seen in terms of even the votes, 45% for Trump in Illinois, and even good numbers or better numbers in Chicago and Cook County. So it's a losing strategy, and I think Pritzker's a perfect foil for Trump. I think Trump would love to take on Pritzker. So if Pritzker wants to try to do stuff about protect against the illegal immigrants, I think Trump's going to win, and Pritzker's going to look silly, especially when we're talking about criminals. So and the list is long, right? We're talking about the crime issue as well. We're talking about the sanctuary city, sanctuary state issue, the green movement, there's plenty of stuff for Pritzker and Trump to bump into each other, and I think Pritzker's going to be on the losing end, which is fine for me because I don't think his policies are the right one for the state or the country.
Well, better to focus on quote unquote Trump-proofing Illinois and picking phony fights with Trump over federal immigration law or the mutilation of minors at Lurie Children's Hospital than to deal with unfunded pension liabilities. Rating agencies weighing in again. I mean, that's just a rite of passage, like the swallows to Capistrano. But it's the same old story. It's the same old impossible unfunded liability hole to dig out of. And there's not much coverage of this from WBEZ or anybody else either.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. These new numbers from Fitch, and WBZ should be highlighting it. We've known about the pension crisis all along. We've always been the extreme outlier, but these latest numbers, we've had fun with it because it just shows again. And I don't mean fun because it's a sad issue, but Illinois is just such an extreme outlier, and it shows you why these pensions are strangling our economy and why our neighbors are kicking our butt. We have this $172 billion massive pension debt sitting there. You got places like Wisconsin has a $4 billion debt. Like it's almost like zero. They don't have to worry about pensions and the cost, and it's sucking up all the budget and taking money away from either protecting our streets or for better schools or anything like that. And meanwhile, we're drowning in debt, and it's gonna come back to bite us because, as we all know, the COVID money's gone. The multi-billion-dollar deficits are back, and we have no plan.
I shouldn't say they're doing nothing. I shouldn't say they're doing nothing in Springfield because there are plans to do something, which is to eliminate Tier 2 and put everybody back into basically Tier 1 defined benefit plans that are part and parcel of the mess we're in that you just described.
Yeah, well, this just goes back to the same. The club. The club is trying to take care of itself. These Tier 2 benefits, that's for all new government workers who got hired after 2010. They don't get as good of benefits as the ones who were working before 2010, and it's the union workers, these public sector union workers. They want equal treatment with the Tier 1 guys. So they're pushing on politicians to improve those benefits, and that would just, of course, make the debts even higher. And I don't talk about these big debts as something of interest. They are what leads to massive both property tax and income tax increases in the future. So they matter.
Mm-hmm. Joe Lonsdale, the founder of Palantir and co-founder of University of Austin and so forth, tech entrepreneur. Again, this is not news to you or me, but it's just nice that people with profile in other sectors are talking about this. I mean, I remember testifying before GASB about this. Joe Lonsdale Twitter thread that Elon Musk tagged as well. States and cities are hiding trillions in debt through accounting tricks that would land private sector CEOs in jail. For example, he writes, the system enabling this nonsense, GASB, which sets government accounting rules, unlike strict business standards, GASB lets states report loans as revenue. Hide most pension debt, use asset sales to fake balanced budgets. Well, we did that. We do that like with the Thompson Center where we sell it like 3 times in one budget. He focuses on California. Newsom claimed a budget surplus, then used $15 billion of it for union pension debt that only exists because they've been obscuring the true cost of pension promises, hundreds of billions of hidden debt for decades. Or California's managed care tax scam. They tax health plans, use that to get federal Medicaid matching funds, then quietly return the money to plans. The result is $20 billion taken from federal taxpayers. Meanwhile, Oakland, California is trying to balance their budget by selling the Coliseum. One-time asset sale masquerading as sustainable revenue, pure fiction. And it goes on from there. I mean, these accounting tricks you've documented for literally decades now. Same as I have. I testified before GASB on behalf of Truth in Accounting, Sheila Weinberg's organization, 5 years ago on this topic. But it's just one of those things where, it's green eye shade stuff. It's policy wonks talking their policy blather. And until Oakland it has to lay off police officers and firefighters, nobody pays much attention.
Well, I met with Sheila Weinberg yesterday, and we had this discussion about all these issues and thinking about how they're going to play out. And it's interesting because, if you want to see the battle between, one way for Trump to get at Pritzker is to start looking at all these pension debts and how they and all the accounting issues and how exposing how bad these things are in Illinois. You mentioned all these tricks. I mean, the biggest trick that nobody talks about because it's complex and nobody knows about is how Chicago borrows money at nearly AAA rates by using future sales tax revenues as collateral for borrowings, and it's a really tricky, dangerous thing. And my partner Mark Lennon says it's kind of like the city selling its body parts for funding. It's really, really dangerous, and it could destroy Chicago one day. And it's so complex, nobody talks about it.
Well, we try. K through 12 education. You talked about that. You've been talking about that, writing about that as well. I mean, we've talked about it before. The graduation rates are through the roof, even though reading and math proficiency levels are down, and 99% of the teachers get high marks. It's the most remarkable set of circumstances. We find statewide, we're not just talking about Chicago Public Schools, I always have to add. We're talking about this statewide. Where are we with graduation rates, say, compared to SAT scores?
Oh, well, that's the part that's driven me crazy, and it took me a while to figure out what the hell they were doing. We've hit record graduation rates. Pritzker and Superintendent Sanders, everybody's talking about this, 88% record graduation rate. And in their next breath, they talked about how reading scores for elementary kids had improved somewhat. What they didn't talk about was the fact that the SAT scores, which are the ones most tied to graduation rates, continue to collapse. I mean, they have collapsed across the state. We're talking about 7 and 8 point drops, where less than a third of our kids read proficiently on the SAT, and less than a quarter do math proficiently. And it's been a straight line collapse for the last 7 years, and nothing was said about that. Nobody's even mentioned it once. Pritzker, nobody. They've avoided it, and they were trying to hide it. And fortunately, we've all been able to bring that out to the forefront, and you're starting to see some coverage of that now in the press.
Now, hopefully, we can get some parents and, parents mainly. School boards and superintendents have to be in on this. So parents mainly to press their districts in the leafy suburbs about that data. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, we just tweeted it this morning. But of the drop in SAT scores in those 7 years, it's the whites that had the biggest percentage point decline. Whites dropped 10 percentage points in reading from, let's say, 50 to 40, and 12 percentage points in math from 47 to 35%. So, if you're thinking that this is a CPS minority issue, you're also wrong. It's the white kids are really struggling as well. So it's the alarm bell should be going off everywhere, and Governor Pritzker should be leading the charge of, hey, we got to fix this, but of course he's not. He's hiding it.
Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I mentioned University of Austin, Joe Lonsdale being a co-founder. Profiled on 60 Minutes on Sunday night was UTA. We'll talk about that in our latest segment of College Beat at 8:08.
And how much do you think a TV dinner, the Hungry Man turkey dinner is, Dan? We'll ask at the other side of the break. But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Shooting on Chicago's southwest side being investigated this morning. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
The firing has not ceased yet. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. As Israel's cabinet meets today to consider a U.S. brokered deal to pause the fighting with Hezbollah militants in Lebanon, Israeli airstrikes hit Beirut, prompting evacuations after more Hezbollah rockets were fired into Israel last night.
Israeli troops began a land invasion of Lebanon almost 2 months ago in response to nearly a year of rocket attacks from Hezbollah. A U.S. brokered ceasefire would see those soldiers withdraw and Hezbollah fighters move well back from the Israeli border.
As Fox's Jonathan Savage, a police officer is being mourned in Greenville, Texas, where he was shot last night in a confrontation with a gunman and killed in a wooded area behind homes. That suspect was also hit by return fire. We don't know the extent of those injuries. The incoming Trump border czar will go to the Texas border today. And Tom Homan tells Fox one priority is locating some migrant children allowed into the U.S. illegally that Biden administration lost track of.
And President Trump is committed, in addition to securing the border
and having a deportation operation is to find and locate these 300,000 children, because many of them are going to be in forced labor, many of them in forced sex trade. We need to save these children.
Some Democratic mayors and governors are readying resistance to the Trump mass deportations next year. Now, the president-elect is also accusing Mexico and Canada of having ridiculous open borders, allowing migrants and drugs to flow in, saying he will impose 25% tariffs on all products Mexico and Canada send to the U.S.
Trump is also threatening to charge an additional 10% tariff on goods coming from China, pointing to the amount of fentanyl coming from the country. The three countries are the largest trading partners of the United States, so the tariffs could have implications for several industries like automakers, farmers, and food packagers.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. The Thanksgiving travel rush is on with a busy morning at airports. This man in Atlanta says this is how to avoid the stress.
Get here early, relax a little bit, have something to eat.
So far, only 45 flights canceled, but there are nearly 600 delays. America's listening to Fox.
26 degrees, sunshine at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis expected back on the stand today in the corruption trial of ex-Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. AM 560's Jim Talamonte has more.
Alderman Daniel Solis cooperating with the government under a deferred prosecution agreement for alleged bribery. Connie Mixon, professor of political science and director of the Urban Studies program at Elmhurst University, served as an expert witness at the corruption trial of former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. Mixon says Solis is a damaged witness.
Solis, who also had potential criminal charges, was essentially getting away without any sort of repercussions.
Madigan and co-defendant Michael McLean are charged with bribery, racketeering, and official misconduct. The trial is scheduled to resume Tuesday. In Chicago, I'm Jim Talamonte.
Mayor Brandon Johnson reversing plans to cut 162 vacant positions tied to the Chicago Police Department. Meantime, at City Hall, 14 Chicago aldermen and women are pushing back against Mayor Brandon Johnson's continued proposed $150 million property tax hike, citing results from a privately funded poll showing widespread citywide opposition.
It's a wake-up call to a number of our colleagues that the voters have spoken in this poll. A property tax increase is not what they want to see in balancing this year's city budget.
Chicago Alderman Brendan Riley says with 5 weeks left to finalize next year's budget, tensions remain high on the fifth floor. Bulls and Wizards later on tonight in the NBA while the Blackhawks get ready for the Stars at the UC. The news service of Quick Delivery Service, your personal ground crew, anytime, anywhere, anyplace. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Some closely watched retailers' earnings reports have come out before the opening bell. Best Buy shares are lower after cutting its annual profit and sales forecasts, signaling a lackluster holiday shopping season and sluggish demand for pricey electronics. The company also missed market expectations for third quarter profit. Apparel company Abercrombie & Fitch issuing strong holiday guidance after posting its sixth straight quarter of double-digit sales growth and another quarter of results that topped expectations. The recent arrest of the company's former CEO Mike Jeffries for sex trafficking did not appear to affect results. Earnings per share were $2.50 versus the expected $2.39. Revenue also topping estimates, $1.21 billion versus $1.19 billion. And that's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
I heard about it for 3 months, and I kept wanting to do it, and I just didn't. And I finally said, I'm going to do it. I just feel overall better, but I've continued to take it.
Oh, I really like them. I feel good while I'm on them, and they're easy to take, and they seem to be working well.
I love it. I love the product. And not only the product, the people that work for them, too, are really nice. That's another plus. It's the best product on the market.
I think it's a good product, so that's the reason I'll continue to take it.
It's a wonderful product. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to take it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brent Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home in Florida. Now, while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brent's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. Brent became a T4 paraplegic. Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows severely injured heroes like Brett to live more independently. We hope you'll donate $11 a month so this great work can continue. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Blue line delays this morning at Damon. Mechanical problems causing delays as you travel on the Forest Park bound side of the blue line. 59th between Kedzie and Troy in the city of Chicago shut down, investigating into a shooting situation and a car into a building that happened around 6:30 this morning. Tri-State stop and go northbound between the Grand Avenue curve and Balmoral. Dan Ryan Express lanes jammed up right at 43rd, and an accident on the outbound Stevenson right at the Tri-State Tollway. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sun giving way to some clouds, a breezy cold day, high today 40, cloudy tonight, low 34, cloudy day tomorrow, the high 41, a snow shower late tomorrow night, low 32, snow showers on Thanksgiving Day, the high at 37. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
26 right now, next news coming up at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Nobody does a better Belinda Carlisle impersonation than Justin. No question about that.
Yeah, good.
This installment of a campus beat, we're all on one big college campus now. The observation of one Andrew Sullivan from several years back now.
Oh, yeah, he saw it coming.
And the profile on University of Texas at University of Austin, I should say, in Texas, UTA. This is the university founded by Joe Lonsdale, the tech entrepreneur Barry Weiss, and others of free minds and free markets perspective, generally speaking. Our friend and econ professor from Brown University, Glenn Lowry, is involved as well. We've talked to folks from University of Austin. They've got their first class. The first class started this fall. It's 92 students. And it's generating some attention, as well it should, because they've got some top-tier academics. One of the other co-founders is the great historian, formerly of Harvard, Neil Ferguson. And he was one of those that 60 Minutes spoke with for their Sunday night profile piece on University of Austin, which I'll tell you what, if you've got kids that are in high school right now and looking around to go to a non-totalitarian re-education camp for post-secondary education, Hillsdale and Grove City and some of the other colleges we've talked about before. But I think fairly soon you're going to want to consider University of Austin. They've got really good students in this small class. The freshman class, first class, only 92 students, but they are top-tier students who could have gone to the prestige schools but chose not to. Neil Ferguson on the disconnect between should we call it legacy academia and their customers, if you will, American families?
Right up until, I guess, the early 2000s, it still seemed like universities were the places where you could think most freely and speak most freely and take the most intellectual risk. And at some point in the last 10 years, that changed. And it changed in a way that began to stifle free expression.
We came across some data that less than 3% of the Harvard faculty identifies as conservative, more than 75% identifies as liberal. Wildly out of proportion with the American public.
There's a huge disconnect now between the academic elite and the average American voter.
Mm-hmm. I would quibble. I mean, far be it from me to quibble, but I'm going to quibble with Neil Ferguson. It's not the last 10 years. It's accelerated in the last 10 years. I mean, this starts at least back in the 80s with the advent of political correctness and speech codes on campus, and certainly I saw it when I was an undergrad. Ferguson talking about the culture on campuses, generally speaking, the few exceptions, University of Austin being one.
The president of a university I won't name once told me that he received, on average, 1 email a day from a member of the university community calling for somebody else to be fired for something they'd said. That reminds me vividly of the bad old days of Stalin's Soviet Union, and yet it's happening on American campuses.
The stakes are that high.
I think if a university system starts to go wrong, then something is bound to go wrong for the society as a whole. The ideas that start on campus pretty quickly spread to corporations, to media organizations. University forms the way you think about the world for the rest of your life. If our universities are screwed up, and I believe they are, then that will screw up America as a whole quite quickly.
And it did. It's not even a prediction. That's exactly what happened. That's what Andrew Sullivan was referencing with that formulation I just made, I just referenced and have many times before. That's exactly what happened. What did we just talk about earlier in the program with Chris Arnade, and have been talking about for several years now in the Trump era, that the real divide in America is not racial. It is not based on sex. It is based on the college degree and the non-college degree. I mean, Joel Kotkin and Michael Lind, Chris Arnade have been writing about this for years. This is what occurred. And so the hope is that with disruptive innovation like University of Austin, maybe that starts to reverse itself. Maybe you start to make it okay for other colleges and universities and state university systems to say, you know what, we are going to course correct here. That we're seeing what other schools are doing, and they're attracting, I should say, top tier talent academically, and we don't want to lose out in the pursuit of top tier academic talent, both as students as well as professors. Very interesting. These, little green shoots, like the little 92-person class at University of Texas Austin. And I encourage people to watch that 60 Minutes piece on the school. Not something I normally do, encourage you to watch 60 Minutes pieces, but this one was good.
It was fair and balanced.
Well,
Was
it just
hit
was
job.
Well, I mean, there's too much intellectual firepower at University of Austin to do much of a hit job. The people they interviewed are just too good.
Yeah.
That's the good news. And, by the way, this is happening a little bit, too. Georgia University system to ban DEI, require civic education. Starting in the 25-26 academic year, the university system, the state of Georgia, will prohibit DEI initiatives across all institutions, mandate civic instruction focused on America's founding documents, including the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Remember those? Also bans ideological tests or diversity statements for admissions and hiring. The Board of Regents for the Georgia State University system emphasized neutrality on social and political issues, aiming to foster viewpoint diversity and civil discourse on campuses. Oh, boy. That's in vogue again in some places. Long way to go. I'm not spiking the football here, but it's encouraging. And for those that don't, much like we're talking about in the political context, interesting observation from Charles Murray. Advice for small colleges with good but not top-tier prestige. The first among you to announce that henceforth admissions will be based exclusively on test scores will immediately become a safety application for 1,500 to 1,600 SAT students who are subsequently turned down from the top-tier prestige schools. And by the so he argues that you do that, you small colleges with good but not top-tier prestige, you do something like that, and your 2025 entering class will be sensationally talented. Within a few years, you will be flooded with top applicants, a high proportion of which have parents who can pay full tuition, and your prestige will have soared. We'll see if anybody wants to take the market opportunity.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that very same line. Got a text message. Dan and Amy, my friend's nephew goes to University of Austin and absolutely loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told them to call in.
Interesting. Yeah, no,
Throughout a line, like I'd love to hear from a student. He's a freshman, one of those 92 that we're talking about from the Chicago area, and wanted, free minds and wanted to not be brainwashed, and his mom did not want him brainwashed. I know that for a fact. So they sent him to University of Austin.
Yeah, the students that they interviewed for the 60 Minutes piece were smart, to a person, sharp. Yeah, they were together.
Dummies. Yeah,
they had it together. The important point, though, to Charles Murray's point, like University of Austin raised $200 million to open the school. I mean, starting a university is a capital-intensive and labor-intensive endeavor.
Yeah,
so it can't, right? So you can't just we can't just wait for all these Hillsdale colleges to pop up out of nowhere, or to put together the kind of intellectual firepower and financial underwriting that University of Austin did. So you have to push other schools, existing schools, to do what the Georgia University system is doing, to do what Charles Murray is suggesting, that small colleges that are near top tier but maybe not top tier can get to top tier by going from DEI to MEI, which is what University of Austin is doing. MEI meaning merit, excellence, intelligence. Those are the criteria by which admissions will be determined. Right. So the good news is that, the battle is joined. It's not just the few colleges, holding out against the culture. The culture maybe is changing. Now, it's not changing everywhere. But for example, an art exhibit at East Tennessee State University, the Buccaneers, sparked a backlash for a depiction of an art exhibit, a depiction of House Speaker Mike Johnson in front of Nazi swastikas that morph into Christian crosses, along with other imagery connecting conservatives, Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, and Christianity to Hitler. So this is what we've come to expect. And it's not going to go away overnight. DEI is not going to go away overnight in corporate America either. But Walmart just said they're walking away from DEI.
Right.
So some of the bigger players, or even not so big players, but they're big players in terms of intellectual prowess, like University of Austin, you can start to have others look and say, oh, well, maybe it's safe for us to do what we're otherwise inclined to do, but have been too afraid to do so. Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. So I accepted a gig. It's not my full-time gig because I do turnaround and business consulting, but I am a professor at a local school here. They draw nationally. There is one kid in my class from New Zealand, so I guess you could say internationally. But this school rhymes with a dog food that used to be advertised on the radio. You figure it out.
Alpo Valpo.
But,
anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're big time woke, and they're hemorrhaging students, and they can't figure out why their student body is shrinking so much. They think that what they need to do is embrace that left stuff harder. And I've had talks with certain deans at the school where they said, maybe we're too much on the faith component. I said, maybe you're too much on the woke component. You're about the same size school as Hillsdale. Hillsdale's kicking butt, okay, and they're unabashedly conservative, and they brag about not turning their students into woke zombie morons. Maybe you should think about that. But they've not thought about that. It continues to spiral downward. Some of them are in a panic. Some of the schools are okay. There's 4 schools inside the university, but they're hemorrhaging. They're worried. And I've also noticed that the average ACT score coming in is like around 22. So, which is not so great. I mean, it's great. A lot of times I can tell that the students are alive because I see their chests rising and falling in class, so they're breathing.
That's good to know, Ralph.
It's a little bit difficult. I feel like some of them, I just need to drive a plant spike into them for nutrition and set them outside for a little bit. But we'll see. And also on the Walmart thing, hey, I've got an inside road to the Doug McMillan, CEO of Walmart. I'm going to pump my contact to find out just a little bit more what's going on. But not to be too cynical, I find it interesting that they're making this big announcement just a few days ahead of Black Friday, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Timing's everything. Doing it.
And a few days after Trump's election, that may have something to do with it, too. And, but something else, too, since thanks for the call, Ralph, since he brought up B school. Again, I'm not saying that everybody is going to find enlightenment simultaneously. That's not going to happen. And some people and institutions are bound by this suicide pact. But this report out on B schools in America, you want to talk about value or lack thereof. Only 15% of B school graduates start businesses, all wired to corporate. More than a third of business school students fail to graduate. For those who do, $110K in average student debt for the top 50 B schools. Only 1% of new businesses each year are started by B school grads. 43% aspire to start a business, only 17 actually do, and just 15% end up sticking with it. 83% of B school grads head to corporate roles, with the majority working in consulting, tech, and finance. So I'm not saying you can't be an innovator and a business leader if you go into corporate America, but it is certainly more stultifying because these are oftentimes big organizations. And so the question that is being raised is, are business schools failing their promise of creating innovators and business leaders? Oh, it's a fair question. And maybe more aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators are going to start asking it before they feel like they need to get that MBA credential. Uh-oh. Interesting times. Maria, Arlington Heights.
Yeah, hi. I just was calling in because I'm familiar with UATX.
My nephew attends there currently. He's part of the first freshman class.
Cool.
And I've been down to Austin a few times since this summer. I've probably made 3 trips down there. And it's a pretty exceptional school, and their mission is pretty great with what they're trying to do.
Does your nephew like it there?
He loves it there. He has really been challenged in his thinking. He's working incredibly hard. I might be able to get him or his mom on the call if you guys are interested in chatting with them.
Yeah, sure.
But it has been an amazing experience so far. I would say that they really are committed to keeping the conversation open, of respectful debate. And, I did watch the 60 Minutes bit on it. I did not think, I know that the president, Pano Canellis, is an exceptional guy. I think he was being challenged a little bit about how do you not turn this into a completely right-wing, university. And I think that they're working hard not to do that, but to truly, dive into topics where kids feel comfortable having their own thoughts challenged and being able to express themselves. I have 4 kids of my own. 3 are in high school right now. And I would say it's very real that kids don't feel comfortable sharing their thoughts if they are maybe not of popular opinion or not in agreement with their teachers.
Well, yes. Although, by the way, where'd your nephew go to school, high school?
He is from Pittsburgh.
And
so
is he a top-tier student?
He's a good student, yes.
Yeah. It was interesting, though, in the 60 Minutes thing, Canellis addressed that in part by saying, they're talking about the protocol there, which is in the classroom, anybody can say anything, but you can't yell anything. That's number one, which I love that. And then number two, because there's no need, because there's a culture of respect for discourse on a particular topic. The other thing, though, too, he pointed out, the conversations that are had in the classroom, I mean, it's almost like an academic integrity contract, although they're not required to sign anything. No posting on social media. You can't go to social media and say, Dan said this in class. You can say what I said in terms of the substance of it, but you can't attribute it to me, because we're not trying to jackpot people. We're not trying to demonize people on social media. We're trying to foster debate. So you can't try to jackpot a fellow student you disagree with. You can take the debate online, but you just focus on the merits of the debate and not the person who offered whatever opinion they offered. I thought that was really interesting to your point, Maria, about trying to foster thinking and discourse and make kids comfortable with speaking freely.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that that's a real fear of kids and adults in today's society.
Yeah.
So, I am also a director of a small school, elementary, middle school, and I'll say that we have to work really hard, too, to make sure that that our teachers stay true to helping, teach children how to think and not what to think, and that their opinions should be left out of the classroom. I mean, especially at a younger level. I think the older you get, I think, that might change a little bit. But the truth is, these kids today in middle schools and high schools, again, they really shouldn't know who their teachers are voting for, right? If a teacher is presenting information in a truly unbiased way without pushing their own agenda, I think that that's, pretty impressive.
Thanks for the call, Maria. I'm going to put you on hold so we have your number, but we'd love to talk to your nephew at UTA if that's possible.
I'll arrange it. Thanks, Maria.
Justin in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, that is.
Hey, Dan. Good morning. It's Justin up here in Pleasant Prairie. I've called in a few times, listened to the show for, probably a decade. Love you. Love the show. You too, Amy. But, hey, I was a single guy down in Chicago for many years, and I remember having Thanksgiving and Easter brunch at the East Bank Club over there all by myself or with a friend or whatever. And I heard you say you're going to be at your golf club for Thanksgiving. You're welcome up here, man. We got a lot of university students coming, kids in high school, very politically diverse group, and it's a lot of fun. And if you want some good home cooking with a great Greek accent, come on up, and we'd love to have you. So,
the Greek accent's a throw-in. I love it. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the invite, Justin. I do appreciate it. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-298-9534. That's 800-298-9534. 800-298-9534.
The Illinois Family Institute believes in the good people of Illinois. We're their voice in Springfield, and we keep them informed about what's happening in government, local school districts, and in our culture. And yes, we know there are a lot of problems with Illinois. Taxes are too high, indoctrination going on in our government schools. Many of our elected officials think commercialized marijuana, more gambling, and taxpayer funding of abortion will solve our state's problems. The Illinois Family Institute is here to stand for the people of Illinois and the common sense values that we share. We have some great resources for folks who would like to make a difference. I'm Dave Smith with Illinois Family Institute. If you want to be part of the solution, please give us a call and visit our website, 708-781-9328 or illinoisfamily.org. illinoisfamily.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
8:38, we'll talk to former federal prosecutor Joseph Moreno about the dismissal of the J6 case against Trump. All things lawfare at 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 8:33 on AM 560, The Answer. President-elect Trump's federal election interference case is officially being dismissed. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion to drop those felony charges. President-elect Trump says he'll impose new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China in his first day in office. Trump took to Truth Social yesterday, saying he would execute tariffs of 25% on all goods from Canada and Mexico. The Israeli cabinet meeting today to vote on a ceasefire deal between the Jewish state and the Lebanese terror group Hezbollah.
If it holds. But the problem is that Hezbollah and its Iranian-backed proxies like Hamas and the Houthis, they've never kept an agreement.
President-elect Donald Trump's pick for ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, says there's one major hang-up. You can't trust Iran. No injuries reported after the wings of 2 passenger jets clipped at Logan International Airport in Boston. Closing arguments are over in Google's second antitrust trial in 2 years. The search giant and the Department of Justice wrapping up things in federal court in Virginia. A person was shot and killed Monday night at I-80 near the I-355 entrance ramps in New Lenox. The victim was hospitalized and later died. Illinois State Police say they helped with New Lenox police in taking that suspect into custody. The Bears are a step closer to securing a location for their new stadium. Team reaching an agreement on property tax rates with the new Arlington Heights School District yesterday.
Would be happy if the Bears came. I think that it's good for economic growth in our area. I think the land and the area where the Bears want to put their stadium, it's a great opportunity for the Bears.
Property tax rates were a major barrier in the Bears' bid to build a new stadium at the old Arlington Racecourse. Chicago police are increasing their visibility downtown following a weekend shooting near Macy's on State Street that injured a 19-year-old woman. A juvenile has been charged with unlawful use of a weapon, though police have not confirmed custody. Chicago sports. Bulls take on the Wizards tonight. The Blackhawks will skate against Dallas tomorrow. College hoops, Fighting Illini, a 92-34 win over Arkansas Little Rock. The News is a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of App Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago. You'll get the most value for your home. 708-828-0000. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
For anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. MediShare is the highest rated healthcare sharing ministry, and members save up to 50% or more on their monthly healthcare costs. Here's why now, too. If you join before November 30th and use the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. Could save even more. Call now. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
8:40. Let's get an update on the roads. A service of the Byrna Less Lethal Launcher. The Byrna launcher can stop an attacker in their tracks. Don't compromise on safety. Byrna is legal in all states. No background checks or permits required. Shipped to your door. Byrna.com/radio for 10% off your purchase. The Kennedy at 1 hour O'Hare into the Byrne Circle interchange. The Ike, bad accident, inbound, right at Sacramento. You're backed up to Ridgeland with 2 left lanes blocked. Stevenson inbound, an accident reported left shoulder inbound at Damon. I-55, accident, 2 right lanes blocked. It's on the southbound side of 55, right at Veterans Parkway. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and colder sunshine will give way to clouds and a high near 40. Right now, sunshine and 27. Your next news is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, as expected, the noxious Jack Smith filed a request yesterday to drop all 4 felony charges against President-elect Trump related to challenging the 2020 presidential election, the so-called J6 case. The 4 charges dropped: obstruction of an attempted obstruct an official proceeding, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, conspiracy against rights, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Chutkin, the judge in the case, equally noxious. Dismissal without prejudice is what she provided. Consistent with the government's understanding that the immunity afforded to a sitting president is temporary, expiring when they leave office. So leave to refile charges against Trump in 2029. Problem is, according to my reading of the statutes governing these charges, they have 5-year statute of limitations. These conspiracy charges, the statute of limitations is 5 years. So
knowing them, they'll probably change the rules.
Well, you ex post facto it. I mean, that doesn't work. 2021 to 2029 is 8 years by my math, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Or couldn't President Trump just pardon himself?
Why? There's no need. Where do these things really stand? And got some other lawfare questions as well for Joseph Moreno, former federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice and the National Security Division, former staff member with the FBI's 9/11 Review Commission, and a U.S. Army combat veteran. Joseph Moreno, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan, Amy. Good to be with you.
Good to have you. Is my understanding incorrect? I mean, how do you toll the statute of limitations?
No, you're spot on. Obviously the best case would have been dismissal of these charges with prejudice. But you only really get that if you can show some substantive problems with the laws or the way a case was brought. This was done without prejudice because this was a procedural issue. Right. But that being said, most people agree that the statute of limitations will not toll during the term of Donald Trump's 4 years. So therefore, you're right, the 5-year statute of limitations should keep running and effectively cannot allow charges to be rebrought in 2029. Now, of course, 4 years from when he starts. Anybody can try to change that. These rules have not been tested because obviously we haven't had federal charges against a sitting president in the past. But I think most would agree that it would not be legal for a future federal prosecutor to bring these charges again, either the ones from Washington, D.C. regarding January 6th or the ones in Florida regarding the documents at Mar-a-Lago once Donald Trump is out of office.
And I know it's DOJ's protocol to not prosecute a sitting president. But then what's your intuition about how the Fulton County and Manhattan cases end up?
Well, so because of the Constitution's supremacy clause, these cases also cannot legally continue during the course of Donald Trump's presidency. But they're not barred by any kind of ethics rules or any kind of structures around that apply to federal cases. So if Alvin Bragg is really intent on restarting his case and trying to get a conviction and sentencing, which conviction happens at sentencing, not at the time of a jury verdict. So Donald Trump is not a convicted felon in New York, despite the fact his detractors like to say that. But if Alvin Bragg wants to continue this case and Judge Merchan agrees, and Merchan has been pretty hostile to Donald Trump, They can try. Fonnie Willis in Fulton County, she can try to move her case, although that's really just collapsed due to her own incompetence. Probably not realistic. I think that at that point, Donald Trump will be 82 years old. I can't imagine there's going to be any public support for that sort of thing. So, I mean, Alvin Bragg might not even be in office at that point, probably run for governor of New York. So I think it's highly unlikely we'll see these cases in the future. But, if these prosecutors are that determined, you never know what they're going to try.
Well, one case that really broiled my blood was the E. Jean Carroll case, because they amended the laws to allow her to sue Trump, and such an astronomical amount. And she was even on CNN with Anderson Cooper, flirting with him, by the way, and said, well, real rape is when you get thrown to the ground, and that's not what happened here. So what happens with that case?
Well, Donald Trump will have to keep fighting that, because you're right on, Amy. They specifically changed the law from a statute of limitations, as we pointed out in the federal context, which was 5 years in New York State, to allow this case from 30 years ago to be brought. So you're already taking a case that's really, really stale in terms of the facts, and allowing it to move forward, again, because, let's face it, Donald Trump was a political enemy of the powers that be in New York State. And so he's got a good argument to fight that case. The fine is outrageous, something like $80 or $90 million. So that's unlikely to survive as well. But that'll be a fight that Trump has to keep on fighting while he's in office.
Just like the Letitia James, fraud case, right?
That case is a real travesty. I mean, that one I think will be overturned on appeal. Even the New York State judges at the appellate level were very hostile to Letitia James's team when they argued this on appeal about a month ago, really saying the law has never been used this way, to use a fraud law in a case where there's no fraud victim, not a single person lost a penny in that case. The $400 million fine that Judge Engoron in that case found, numerous applications of that law just really, really stretched to the breaking point. So my prediction is that case is either completely overturned or the fine is greatly, greatly reduced to something much more reasonable. It should be like $1 million, if that much.
There is, that's not the only J6 case of interest, particularly because Trump campaigned on intimating he would commute or pardon nonviolent J6 convicts. And right now, there's still J6 defendants being sentenced. 21 were sentenced last week. There's new trials. And there's some call for Trump to put out a statement, sort of like he did on Jack Smith. Jack Smith's going to be gone. That Matthew Graves, the prosecutor there in those J6 cases, is that he's going to go, and we know that he is going to go, and that his replacement is going to put a hold on said prosecutions. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's right. I mean, I think that all of this just goes to show how absurd these cases were, and what a kind of a waste of these years, a waste of money, a waste of prosecutors and investigators that should have been actually prosecuting real crimes, clogging up the courts with these cases. And I think the real travesty here is beyond all that, the fact that we've now crossed this threshold, something that we've never done in 200 years in this country, which is to aggressively use the legal system, both civil and criminal, against a political opponent. And I really hope the American people have seen this and said, no, we're not going to let this happen again. But now that we've crossed this precipice, I mean, it's going to be tempting for future politicians to do this again. And I'm not really sure, despite the fact that these cases have been dismissed or withdrawn, I'm not sure there have been any real consequences for the actors here.
Well, that's where I was going to go next, which is, I mean, if you're a deputy AG to Pam Bondi, what do you advise her to do with respect to the performance of the DOJ under Merrick Garland?
I think some real safeguards around this kind of nonsense in the future. I think a real look at people's behavior. I'm a little concerned that we're going to see leaks. I think that's kind of the next step. I think we've seen that kind of bad conduct in the past of where maybe these prosecutors couldn't bring these cases, that the J6 or the Mar-a-Lago case, but we'll see leaks to the media, which would be really egregious. And if that does happen, there should be investigations that are thorough. But again, a lot of this hinges on people's conduct and the ability of the American people to hold politicians and people like the Attorney General accountable. I think people were upset. I think that actually helped Donald Trump get reelected here. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the voters that really decide if they're going to tolerate this thing or not.
What about with respect to FBI and whoever the new FBI director is, the sort of full accounting for of the FBI's behavior in and around J6? I mean, is that something that Bondi and the new FBI director should pursue as well?
Absolutely. I think Chris Wray sees the writing on the wall that his time as FBI director is not long. I think there should be a fresh, aggressive face that looks at not just January 6th, but going back to Russiagate. I mean, that was a travesty. That was an absolute travesty that Donald Trump's own FBI spun their wheels for 2 years. They knew within 6 or 8 weeks there was no Russia connection to Donald Trump or the Trump campaign. And yet they kept that case going on procedural issues, trying to jam people up on false statements, trying to keep that going. And finally, Bill Barr shut it down. It should have been shut down 2 years earlier or never happened in the first place. That, I think, is probably even worse than January 6th. That was an absolute travesty and should never be allowed to happen again.
Why didn't Jeff Sessions shut it down?
Well, he didn't have the courage there. I mean, he tapped out immediately because he took this sort of kind of weaker approach that, well, I advise the Trump campaign, and therefore I don't want to look like I have a conflict of interest. By doing that, maybe some could say that he took the kind of gentlemanly road, but by doing that, he left this gap that was filled by Rod Rosenstein, who was a career Washington, D.C. prosecutor who also did not have the wherewithal to kind of take a hard look at this and say, you know what, enough. Everyone was deferential to Bob Mueller. Everyone said, well, he's a trusted D.C. figure. He must be doing the right thing. Well, he was not doing the right thing, and he let this thing go on and basically torment the Trump administration from within for far too long.
Yeah, Rod Rosenstein and Andrew Weissman. Let's not forget about his chief hatchet man. I mean, this is a time now where whatever Marquis of Queensberry rules they were playing by 8 years ago, that's a no bid at this point. Absolutely. So I mean, I think that the Trump window, not just for this, but for pretty much anything, he's got about 18 months. Right, to really clean house before the midterms come, and then, people sort of get into campaign mode. So if he's going to strike while the iron is hot, it's now. It's with Pam Bondi, who could be a very tough attorney general. It could be with a new FBI director who comes in and really cleans house if he or she feels that's necessary. But he's got to act fast because it's only a matter of time before the sort of Washington swamp kind of regains itself, and people have short memories. And so I think, I hope, for all of our sake, that Donald Trump acts decisively. He's got a lot on his plate, but this is an important one. Well, and a lot of this will be outsourced and will be the province of the Attorney General. Sovereign immunity. You hear Tom Homan talking about mayors if they try to knowingly harbor people that are fugitives from the law. If they try to interfere with a federal law enforcement operation, then he's open to seeing them charged criminally. What about Adam Schiff? He's talking about Russian collusion hoax. Even sitting senator, soon will be, even if there is no criminal conduct, there's no discernible criminal conduct committed by Schiff. What about, for example, pursuing his law license for any again, if there's evidence to support this, but a look into all of the major players in these frauds that were perpetrated.
Well, working backward, absolutely. I mean, law license is aggressive, but, for sure. I mean, the fact that Schiff is so shameless that even now he's still repeating this sort of thing and going on television to say it, and then that the networks allow him to keep saying that, it's defamation. I mean, he should be absolutely ashamed. And as far as sovereign immunity, if anyone can do it, it's going to be Tom Homan. I mean, these cities and these local prosecutors cannot be forced to participate in deportations, but they can be looked at and even charged if they impede them. So if they're impeding ICE's work in terms of letting out individuals who are subject to an ICE detainer and preventing immigration officials from arresting illegal aliens, they can be charged. And again, this is the kind of thing that it's going to take a very focused administration who is willing to be aggressive with these local towns and cities to say, that's enough now. Sanctuary cities are not legal. They are not supported by the voters, I think, as was indicated 2 weeks ago. and they got to strike while the iron is hot to kind of stop this nonsense.
Joseph Moreno, former federal prosecutor of the DOJ and the National Security Division, former staff member with the FBI's 9/11 Review Commission, and a U.S. Army combat veteran. Joseph Moreno, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Dan, Amy, thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them. But why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, ROLLANDS, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust. Just like I do.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and healthcare, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Dan, guess how much the TV dinner, The Hungry Man, is?
In these Biden-inflationary times, $42.
No, at Jewel's, it's $4.99, believe it or not. But if you want
$4.99?
Yeah, if you want to go to Walmart, it's $3.94. They're very small portions, but you get the white turkey, the gravy, the cranberry, the stuffing. So...
Oh, well, it shows you how much I shop.
Exactly. All right, thanks so much to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy, part of the Zoo Crew. Couldn't do it without them. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
A fatal shooting shuts down I-80 in New Lenox. WIND Chicago News Time is 9 o'clock.
A trip to the border for the Trump czar tasked with securing it. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Tom Holman will be in Eagle Pass, Texas today, and he tells Fox.
We send a strong message to the rest of the world. If you cross this border illegally, you're going to be deported. You're going to be detained. You're not going to